It begins once again. Tell people to come to my stream. I mean, yes, the phrase is you should do this already before you start streaming. But I don't care. Important part, though, is to actually get the game open. Windows 10 is impossible to navigate sometimes. It's like, oh, well, why don't you just put it on your desktop? But then all my games would be on my desktop, and it'd be impossible to find anything, because that's not how my brain works. Because that's just a terrible thing to do to myself. That's not the right music to be mumbling to myself when I'm about to play Higurashi. Now I'm going to play all the way until I finish. Like, this chapter I'm finishing today. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm doing it. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. But first I gotta... Where did I put my tablet? That's an important thing to find out. Because I need to know where I put my tablet. Because I gotta make sure it's coming up as part 4. Ah, shit! Fuck! You heard nothing. That wasn't the sound coming out of my head, my saying not at all. Ah, shit. Okay. Just to make sure it's actually coming up right on YouTube. It's coming up as part 4 and not part 3. Try. Make sure it's sent to everybody. Okay, good. It is showing up as part 4 on my side. Awesome. Okay. Move everything back to where it was before. And we begin. Ah, crap! I hit the wrong thing. Shit! Now I meant to go to continue. Exit. I hit the wrong button. I'm good at games. I know how to navigate menus. Alright. Chapter 9. Let's do this. Weariness and a headache. Not a very nice way to start the day. What's wrong, Keiichi? You don't look so well. When did you go to sleep? Seemed that my mom had noticed my sonic state. Yesterday I kept on waking up in the middle of the night. Without a doubt, I felt a presence. I felt the presence of someone standing in front of my door. I told myself repeatedly that it was my imagination, and forced myself to try and sleep. Except, not being able to stand it, I gathered up my courage and opened the door. Of course, there wasn't anyone there. I think I did this 3 times throughout the night. Or maybe I just don't remember doing it any more than that. Even though I was able to get to the breakfast table without incident, I still didn't feel at ease. It might be a cold. I don't really have an appetite. My, you do seem a little warm. Well, can you make it to school? Technically, I did go to a school, but it was mostly self-study. Wouldn't matter if I missed a day, would it? It could have been that I hadn't been feeling well for the last few days, because I really did have a cold. If I took some medicine and got a good day of rest, I might be able to greet everyone with a smile tomorrow. Startled, I looked back and forth between the entrance and the clock. It was 10 minutes later than when I usually met up with Rena. It was Rena. Rena-chan came to get you. What are you going to do? Are you going to take the day off? Rena was a good girl. She might be somewhat quirky, but she was certainly cute. The lunches she made were delicious, and she always looked out for me. Why should I be so scared of something like that? It wasn't Rena's fault. It was probably mine. It had to have been my cold. It just had to be. I'll rest. Sorry.
Then I'll go send her off for you.
Mom headed off to the door. I would have passed by the entrance to get back to my room. I didn't have the nerve to meet with Rena, so I wrapped myself in a blanket on the sofa and closed my eyes. I was so sleep-deprived, I quickly fell into a deep slumber. Was so tired! I got all freaked out because of last night. I had only intended to lie down for a bit, but I was almost noon before I woke. I called out to my parents, but they didn't seem to be around. On the table I found lunch prepared and a note. Mom and Dad had apparently driven off somewhere far away, likely to do with Dad's work. This happened every so often, so it wasn't that unusual. They would probably be back sometime after dinner. On the note it said,
"The insurance card is in the cabinet. Take it and go to the hospital."
There was also a well-drawn map of the hospital. That's right, I hadn't been there before, so I didn't know exactly where it was. I had a light lunch, although it really was just leftovers from the morning, and just in case went to the hospital. I would not be willing to do that. If I was sick, I would just stay home. Normally, I'd never be here in the middle of a weekday. Just walking around like this had me guilty. It was an odd feeling. Following my mom's map, I took a road I usually never used. After walking a bit, the hospital sign came into view. EDA Clinic was written rather stylishly on the sign. The clinic wasn't very big, but based on the scale of the rest of Hinamizawa, it was far too grand. There was a parking lot and even a reserved spot for buses. They must be making a mint. I spaced out in the air-conditioned waiting room until it was my turn to be seen.
Mayabara-san, please make your way to the examination room.
After properly answering all the chatty doctor's questions, he responded with the old, "It's probably a cold." They gave me a shot and 3 days' worth of medicine. I thought it was a little overboard, but if it would clear away the gloomy feeling I had been having lately, then it was worth it. I hate going to hospitals. It's a weird thing for me to not like, but every time I've gone to a hospital, it's never been good. I settled the bill and took a quick trip to the washroom. As I was leaving, I overheard the conversation between some elderly people who seemed to be regulars at the clinic. Of course, I had no intention of eavesdropping. If it just wasn't for that word. Must have been an Onikakushi.
I wonder. She was still pretty young. Might have just eloped.
With whom?
That man from Tokyo who visits every season. That young one with that big camera. Didn't you know they were getting along pretty well?
Were they talking about Tomotake-san? I could feel my ears pricking up. I don't know about that, but you have to make preparations before you elope. Leave a note or quit their job or something.
It's an elopement because they didn't leave a note or a message.
The thought that I will never see the young nurse's face again makes me rather sad.
Takano-san is an upstanding young woman. She'll be fine wherever she goes.
Surname was Takano-san? That woman with Tomotake-san. And she worked at this clinic? Urashiro-sama's shadow was following me everywhere I went. I started listening more closely, but they began talking about fishing, and it didn't seem like they were going to revisit the topic. I gave up and left. Thus, even though I was separated from the daily monotony of school, I wasn't able to escape from Urashiro-sama's shadow. But of course, Urashiro-sama was the guardian deity of this place, of Hinamizawa. As long as I was in Hinamizawa, I wouldn't be able to escape. Leave Hinamizawa! Not gonna do that because I'm like 15! Maybe it was because I was walking outside, but my appetite had suddenly returned. I might as well buy a snack for the change in the examination fee on the way home. Contemplating that, I turned into a familiar street. At that moment, I heard a car horn abruptly honk behind me. Was I really walking so far into the middle of the road that I would be in a car's way? I moved farther off the side, but the horn was still honking at me. I turned around, peeved. Oh, Toshi! Mayabara-san, good day to you. Toshi-san. He stepped out of his car, AC on full blast, and waved at me. What's up today? School on break? Just not feeling well, so I took the day off. I was about to buy lunch and head back home. That's great. I'm just about to get my lunch myself. Would you mind going together? If you're not feeling up for it, then don't mind me.
I was just going to lie down after getting home anyway. I didn't really have a cold. I doubt you want to eat at one of those local places. Let's go into town. It's a bit of a drive. Is that alright? I know a pretty good place. I'd finally begun to understand Oshi-san's roundabout way of saying things. He probably wanted to talk to me about stuff that would be difficult to discuss while in Hinamizawa. Yeah, you probably don't want to be in the town when you talk about things like that. Just a thing. I went with Oshi-san riding in his frigid car. It's almost as if the bright sunlight outside was a lie. I'm sorry about calling you so late last night. Did your parents get angry with you? No. I recalled Rena, who had been listening to the phone conversation all that time, separated from me by just the door. Even now, in the brightness of the sunlight, the thought just creeped me out. With a big bump that jolted the car, the road connecting to the city changed from dirt to pavement. My head swiveled back with sudden realization. That's right. This is where Toмотake-san died. They've hit a snag on the investigation regarding Toмотake-san. Oshi-san spoke while peering at me from the corner of his eye. They believed it was caused by hallucinogens, given how he was clawing at his own throat. But a drug that could cause that to happen so suddenly is extremely hard to come by. Bear in mind, of course, the autopsy was done with that pretense in mind, but we didn't find any leads. You know that thing you see in comics all the time? Where there's a drug that if you put it in them, it doesn't leave any traces? It exists. Or something or other. Well, it's pretty common. But you see, that doesn't seem to be any kind of drug that would cause Toмотake-san to react like that. And you're saying the police concluded Toмотake-san just died from the curse? Nippon! We're not at the point where Rika said Nippon yet. I couldn't help but feel that the police were worthless. I just wanted the idea of a curse to be disassociated from Toмотake-san's mysterious death. Fortunately, it's how it looks right now. Putting aside the cause of death, without a doubt he was surrounded by a group of people and had taken a beating before he died. That was no curse, but an instinct that unquestionably evolved other humans. That made me a bit relieved. Hi, Jeffrey! We passed in front of the rather desolate, but still busier than Hinamizawa train station. The car pulled into a restaurant parking lot, and I followed Oshi-san into the shop. It was pretty crowded, but there were only adults at this hour. Of course, there wouldn't be any children here in the middle of a weekday. 2, please, non-smoking. This way, please. When you're ready to order, please call me over. You were led by a peculiarly dressed waitress in our table, and I sat with Oshi-san in the booth. So, what do you think? Aren't the waitresses' outfits here cute? Huh? Well, I guess. The shop is always quite busy. It's more about the waitresses than the food, you see. Uh-huh. Oshi-san, you're leering. Hung? Am I really? Look, we're at the very end part of the first arc. This is just only going to lead to sadness and death soon. Also, we're in Angel Mort, but we don't get to meet any of the actual waitresses. Regardless of how the waitresses looked, the food was decent enough. Finishing our meals while talking about some inane topic, Oshi-san's after-meal cup of coffee arrived at the table. Yesterday we talked about Hinamizawa's past, didn't we? Yeah, it was the village of man-eating demons or something like that. I don't know much about it myself, so I asked my grandmother about it in the morning. Oshi-san took out the notepad that had stuff in his breast pocket. Turns out that Hinamizawa used to be called Onikakushi, or Ogre's Abyss. Onikakushi, that's quite the name. The name is still around. The marsh, where the Shinto priest's wife drowned herself, is still called the Ogre's Abyss. Said that the depths of that marsh connect to the realm of demons. Of course, nobody had told me anything about such an ominous marsh. And you see, it appears they were both feared and revered. A respect born of fear. I guess you could say it was a kind of deification. A village of inhuman creatures. Seems the demons were senin, or mountain-dwelling mystics of sorts. Taking villagers with incurable diseases into Ogre's Abyss and healing them, for example. Even if they were calling them demons, Tengu, long-nosed goblins, or senin were more apt descriptions. They don't seem like such terrible people, even though they were called demons. But they were still man-eating demons. According to the story my grandma told me, as payment for treating the son's illness, let us eat the mother who brought him here. Which is apparently how things went. The price of curing her son was herself? That's unsettling. Of course, the mother took her son and ran. Then, you see, all the people who lived in Onikakushi, the demons chased them down, rounded them up, and captured them. This is a nice conversation to be having in a maid cafe. The entire village, apparently. It's quite a frightening thing to imagine. In the end, it seemed both the mother and son were caught and eaten. The end. There's a problem with this story. Both witnesses in this story were eaten, so nobody would be able to tell the tale. Huh? There are plenty of old fables like this. In contrast to the ghastly tale, Oshi-san's laughed heartily while sipping his coffee. But, well, there are quite a few other tales, where the demons from Onikakushi banded together to capture their prey. I recalled that Mion said that all the villagers united and fought against the dam construction. I saw similarities with how that part about unification overlapped. Normally they hunted down a single person, and they chose who it was going to be beforehand. Huh? That caught my attention. Oshi-san also appeared to be pondering what it meant. Okay. I don't want to... I hope not for the second one, but that first one I completely understand. My grandmother told me that it must have been inferred with the demon's hunt. You should just hole up in your house and hide under the covers, she said. So what does it all mean? It means you mustn't ever help or protect the prey. As long as you don't disturb the demon's hunt, no harm will fall upon the villagers. Seems there's that kind of rule. Basically, don't help the victims. Pretend you don't see the atrocities, in other words. What happens if you break the rule? Well, they're man-eating demons, after all. Many parts of that tale caught my attention. Parts of the story he told me overlapped with his theory that the perpetrators were all the village families. Even if it wasn't the whole village, it was convincible that the villagers were hiding under the covers and leaving them to die. When there's a group that was on their hunt, wasn't it? I didn't dare speak it. Then Oshi-san, I guess it looks like it's either the village families or a group of villagers perpetrating the crimes. What do you think, Maebara-san? Excuse me. Another cup of coffee, please. That's what I wanted to know. It seemed that we were both waiting for the other to say that last part. I waited for the waitress to finish pouring coffee before speaking. Last year, I had a nagging feeling when Satoshi-kun disappeared. Oshi-san muttered as he watched the milk swirl around in his coffee. So those friends of Satoshi-san, meaning your group of friends, Maebara-san, I had a bit, really just a little bit, okay, of background checking done on them. If Oshi-san had said this to me before, I would have been furious, since he told me earlier not to suspect my friends. But as I was now, I couldn't. This might sound pretty stupid. Maebara-san, if you feel it's stupid, please say so. I'll just stop. Oshi-san was wearing the most serious expression I had ever seen on him. It was as if he was telling me to prepare myself and listen. There are quite a few things I regret hearing from Oshi-san, but none of them were as threatening as this. The voice inside me was screaming like an alarm. Stop, Keiichi. This is probably the last one. I took a deep breath and silenced that voice. I would not run from the truth. Please. Was all I could utter. Oshi-san stared in my eyes silently for a few moments. After he was certain I was ready, he spoke. The victim of the incident in the first year was the overseer. A few weeks prior, he had an altercation with Mion Sonozaki-san. Multiple altercations. Oshi-san had said before that Mion had defied the dam project vehemently. Well, it wasn't hard to imagine how she'd be if she got worked up. In the second year, the married couple who supported the project died in that accident, right? They had a daughter. Her name was Satoko Hojo-san. Huh? Satoko meaning... Satoko? Yes, that's what he said, Keiichi. Oshi-san's look told me that my voice was too loud. I realized it as well and quickly quieted down. The Shinto priest and his wife who died in the third year, you see. Their daughter is Rika Furere-san. Rika-chan was... the housewife who had died in the fourth year you know already, don't you? It was a step-aunt of Satoko Hojo-san. She was in her aunt and uncle's custody, as she had lost both her parents in the accident. She lived in the victim's house. I could tell my lips were getting dry. I didn't even have the wits to keep my mouth from hanging agape. I thought it was nothing but a bizarre incident, one that I could easily distance myself from, but clicking and clacking, it all snuck under all the way to my feet. The one who disappeared the fourth year, by the way, was Satoko-san's older brother. What? Wait, just a second. It took everything I had to finally say that. I gulped down a glass of water and once again wiped my face with a napkin. Calm down, Keiichi Maribara. But Ochi-san was relentless. Instead of waiting for me to finish sorting out my feelings, he began speaking again. Last of the things I shouldn't have heard. All the victims seem to be connected to your group of friends. That has to just be a coincidence. Maribara-san, keep it down. Everyone's looking. Mion, Satoru, Rika-chan? So what if they're connected? You're telling me all my friends? It couldn't be. It just couldn't be. Oh, Rena's different, isn't she? Rena isn't connected with the victims at all. Rena Ryugu was living in the suburb of Ibaraki Prefecture up until last year. Well, it's true, she hadn't directly met any of the victims. He said it in a roundabout way. Is he saying she's also connected? Actually, I looked into her. Before Ryugu-san moved away to Hinamizawa, she was suspended from school. Seems she went through her school building and broke all the windows. Rena did that? She broke all the windows at her school? The same silly Rena had. I couldn't even imagine it. Seems that after her 3-day suspension, she didn't return to school. She went to a neurosis and was diagnosed with dysautonomia. She was given weeks of counseling and medication. I wonder if it's something to do with a nervous breakdown. I had heard that it happens to people who are really methodical or overly sensitive. None of those match Rena's easygoing personality. And in the counselor's medical report, he recorded all the conversations he had with Rena-san. It shows up. And quite a bit at that. What did... I pressed forward carelessly. There couldn't be anything more for me to regret. She mentioned the word Oyoshiro-sama. It felt like someone's stone-cold hand was caressing my back. Why did Rena speak of Oyoshiro-sama before she ever came to Hinamizawa? Seems that Oyoshiro-sama she spoke of was like a ghost, appearing in her house every night. Standing over her pillow, looking down at her. My mind froze. I couldn't process what I was being told. A while after that, she moved to Hinamizawa. Ah, that's right. She's not an outsider. Huh? According to this residency sheet, the Ryugu family used to reside in Hinamizawa. Rena-san moved to Irabaki right after she finished elementary school. My mind went completely blank. It was similar to the static you see on a blank TV channel. My ears began ringing as I lost all sense of comprehension. Maribara-san, are you all right? Shall we stop? Those words brought me back. I couldn't let it end here. Now I understand, Rena. Then how about the last victim, Tomotake-san? Who was he connected with? Irritated, I let out one final reprisal. All of them. Have you forgotten, Maribara-san? Didn't you all spend the night on the festival together quite merrily? Quite a few of the officers saw you enjoying yourselves. Now there was nothing I could respond with. I fell silent as my brain turned to mush. We should get going. Maribara-san, did you take your afternoon medicine? I'd completely forgot about the medicine I'd gotten today until Oshi-san said that. We got another glass of water and we left the shop after I chugged it down. We got in the car and returned to Hinamizawa via the rough road. I never really paid attention when I was on my bike, but did cars normally shake this much? So it was as if the road was desperately trying to tell me something. But that big jolt from the difference in elevation of the road when it changed from cement to dirt. I was certain I heard Tomotake-san scream. I sat in silence, just letting myself be shaken by the car. I'll drop you off at your house. You missed school because you were ill, correct? My apologies for the long conversation. Why did you talk to me? I blurted out the question. Really just blurted it out. I didn't expect an answer. I did check with you first, didn't I? If we should just stop? Not that. Why did you reach out to me? I understood quite well that Oshi-san was investigating this string of suspicious incidents. But why was he telling me all this? I knew nothing and I couldn't help. Everything Oshi-san spoke of was news to me. First of all, what could I, having just moved here, know? By chance, if there was a reason for Oshi-san to reach out to me, then it would have had to be that I looked suspicious to Oshi-san, as I was part of Mion's circle of friends. I'm retiring this year. I plan on moving away after retiring, as my grandma wants. So while I'm still on the case, I want to bring the truth behind this incident to light. So Oshi-san, you suspect them, don't you? All of them. Oshi-san didn't really give a response. Felt a little late. so I thought it was his way of showing a bit of consideration for my feelings. This is mostly my intuition from 30 years on this job. Maibara-san, you're the one in danger. Huh? I wanted to reply with that was absurd, but in my downtrodden state, I couldn't bring myself to say it. I'll be retiring this year, so I won't be at the Watanagashi next year. So I want to settle things. In other words, he was insinuating that on the next Watanagashi, I might be the victim. I've been warned by the chief as well. Each incident in the string of cases has been solved, so don't bring it up again, or so I'm told. This is the pressure I'm facing. Pressure from what? Someone in Hinamizawa. You've arrived. Is this fine? After some time, the car finally reached the path to my house. The clock read 2 p.m. I was surprised so little time had passed since we ate. It was hot outside the car. The chirping of the Higurashi hurt my ears. I won't mind if you just forget everything I told you today, but I'm still going to keep investigating. I'll end Yoshiro-sama's curse this year. So you're saying I should contact you if anything happens? It's fine. Just contact me when you feel you have to, Maibara-san. I wasn't connected enough to understand Oshi-san's roundabout way of saying it. Be sure to take it easy. I'm sorry for throwing all of this on you while you're taking the day off because you're sick. I didn't really give any sort of response. I'll always be on your side. If anything, believe that. I'll be off now. I have several questions, just mostly in the fact of, how is Oshi-san's grandmother still alive? He's an old, fat man with gray hair. The tires crunched over the dirt road as the car made a U-turn and disappeared into a cloud of kicked-up dust. It felt like I was watching a boat, only throwing me a lifesaver in shark-infested waters before disappearing into the distance. That was the first time I thought Oshi-san was being unfair. Telling me I was going to be the next victim and then saying to contact him if something happened. This wasn't a criminal investigation. He was fishing. I was just the bait dangling off the line. Would the fish be the perpetrator? Or was it really just Otoshiro-sama's curse? Either way, the bait would be swallowed whole. Damn it. I don't want to die. For some time, I could do nothing but stare at the puddle of water left by the AC from the car. I don't want to die either. I understand how you feel. I wouldn't want to die. I just want to stay alive. There's a whole song about that. Now we're back in the house. I wonder how much time had passed since I laid down. It's getting dark outside. My body was soaked in sweat. I'm adjusting my mic and holding it in my hand. It would probably be a good idea to change my sheets. At that moment, the phone downstairs rang. It was probably Mom. Mom was quite the worrywart. Maybe she had called many times and I just didn't notice. Hello, this is the Maibara residence. Oh, he's alive! Hello, this is Mion. How you doing? This is one of Keiichi's friends. Keiichi is resting now, but shall I put him on? Huh? Is this his dad? Sorry. Idiot. You fell for it. Huh? Kei-chan! After our exchange, we both had a good laugh together. Except I was suspicious of her even as we were laughing. Was everybody really involved in the incidents? The fact that I couldn't say no saddened me. I'm relieved that you seem well. Rena was really worried, you know. Sadako-chan was happy and said you got what you deserved. Rika-chan said, how unfortunate, he's sick. Looks like everyone's making a big deal out of it. Well, you know, so Kei-chan, is now a bad time to come pay you a visit? A visit? No, it's okay. It's not like I'm dying. My grandma made a ton of mochi, you see. I was told to share them. So I'll bring you some. Hey now, you'll catch my cold. Not to worry, both Rena and I are too stupid to catch a cold. See you. Be there in a bit. She hung up cheerfully. Rena's coming too. That's what it sounded like. I was still concerned about reading Rena. Meeting Rena! Meeting Rena! But I guess if she was with Mion. Heard the doorbell 10 minutes later. How are you feeling? Did you take your medicine and rest, or did just that? Thank goodness you look well. I was worried. Sorry, I'll be fine by tomorrow. Mion showed a complete lack of concern for someone who was recovering, and Rena looked like she was worried for me from the bottom of her heart. It didn't look like there was anything behind those expressions. I thought we might hang out for a bit, but looks like you're not quite in the condition for it. Huh? You don't say. Seeing my face appeared a bit sullen.
Then here, Keiichi-kun. These are the mochi Mi-chan's grandmother made.
Then I held out the package wrapped in newspaper. There might be about 5 in here. It's quite hefty. Ah, thanks. Send my regards to your grandma, Mion.
Yep. Ah, there's one I made in there as well. I wonder if Keiichi-kun can guess which one.
This is Kate-chan's homework since he missed the club meeting today. There are letters on each mochi, so I'll ask you tomorrow. Were you checking if I was feeling better, or did you just come here for club activities? Yep. Looking fine. Guess you'll be able to make it tomorrow. Man, what are you gonna do if my fever comes back because of your shenanigans?
Mi-chan, you shouldn't be making such a racket. Let's go. The other people will get angry.
Both of them thought my parents were home. It was because the entranceway was a mess. You're right, let's get going. Ah, by the way, Kei-chan. Yeah? What did you eat for lunch? The sudden expression startled me, and I went wide-eyed when I saw Mion. I'd never seen her like that. This highly unsettling visage. But why is she asking me what I ate for lunch? What she said was so inane, it was almost meaningless. The way she said it, it was almost like she didn't even care about what I ate. I ate out. She must have suspected I was with Oshi-san. Anyway, I felt that if I hesitated or tried to change the subject, they'd be too deep into it, so I tried answering as quickly as possible. Except, contrary to the efforts I had made, there was a pause before they replied.
So you ate out for lunch, Keiichi-kun?
The glimmer from Rena's eyes had changed at some point as well. It was now sharp, as if to make me feel the feigned ignorance between her words even more, as if she already knew. It's how it looked to me. Well, was it good? Oh, why are you asking me this? Mion was speaking in an unusually low tone, almost as if she knew I had eaten at the restaurant in town. No, I'm overthinking this. I mean, both of them should have been in school at lunchtime. There was no way they could have known where I was.
Seems you were with that rather austere-looking old man. Who was he?
The package from the mochi I was holding slipped out of my hands. I could tell the blood had drained from my face, making me go pale. Oh, Keiichi-kun, who was he? Could it be the person from p.4, I wonder? I could feel the back of my throat going dry. This is no longer a bluff. They knew everything? How do you know about that? It took everything I had to finally force those words from my throat. My knees were shaking. Knees weak, arms are heavy. Sorry. Because there's nothing this old man doesn't know. Mion sneered knowingly and relapsing to carry on forever. So, Kei-chan, what did you talk about? It seemed like you got pretty worked up over it, too. We weren't talking about you guys. It didn't have anything to do with you or Rena.
Isn't it a bit strange to hear our names coming up, even though nobody asked about that?
Rena's unwavering gaze pierced through my eyes and peered further inside me. I dug my own grave. My heart was throbbing so much it felt like it was going to explode. Well, whatever you're trying to hide, this old man already sees through it all. Remember that. I couldn't even shake my head. It took forever. Everything I had to stop my teeth from chattering. She never let her gaze back from mine, even as she tilted her head slightly.
Keiichi-kun, you don't look so good. I think you should lie down.
That's true. We should both head home. As if nothing had happened, they both giggled at each other and started making their way out. I hadn't moved a muscle since I dropped the package of mochi. As they left, the door slowly closed behind them. All I could do was stare, as if I couldn't move until the door was completely closed. Just as the door was about to close, it opened just again slightly with a sudden creak, sending my heart racing once again. A single eye peered through the narrow slit, and Mion's hawkish gaze peered at me once again.
See you, Kei-chan.
Yeah, I'd hate it if you missed school tomorrow, alright? Thud. The door closed. I wasn't able to move a muscle, even though after their low laughter died off in the distance and silence once again enveloped the room. Coming back to my senses, the first thing I did was lock the door. They knew about Oshi-san and I talked about it. Why? How? No, that wasn't important. Thinking about it now, all I could have been overheard from the beginning when Oshi-san met me. Just as Beyond said, I couldn't hide anything. Then what were they trying to tell me? The part was obvious. They were warning me not to say anything unnecessary. What did they deem unnecessary? I only talked to Oshi-san about one thing, and they were warning me that was unnecessary. What was it that Oshi-san talked to me about? The incidents involving Oshiro-sama's curse that occurred every year weren't individual cases, but were connected as a whole, as well as the fact that there may have been multiple perpetrators hidden within Hinamizawa. No, more precisely, that Mion, Rena, Satoko, and Rika-chan were all suspicious. Is that what they were warning me against? What kind of nonsense am I thinking about? I hit my own face hard enough that it let out a loud slap. If only that would wake me from this nightmare, but for some reason it felt like I was punching a blanket. It was almost laughably painless. Calm down, Keiichi Maibara. When did I become such a pessimist? Calm down, settle down and sort things out. The reason Mion knew I was eating lunch with Oshi-san was probably because someone from Hinamizawa just happened to be there at the time. They must have told Mion that I was there. That made the most sense. Plus, come to think of it, she didn't ask me where I ate lunch, did she? She only asked, was it good? They were just curious, since I was together with someone not from Hinamizawa. It's not as if they had any other ulterior motives, that's it. They had to be it. Thinking about it that way, it was the same with Rena. I was just being strangely ambiguous about when I met with Oshi-san, and Rena was just correcting me on that. That's when I was bewildered by the change in character, the usual mild-mannered Rena, and was just startled by that. It's the most natural way of thinking about it. It felt like my mind was mixed with like a tangled mess of spaghetti. The spaghetti! Deep red marinara sauce would have poured out of my nose and ears if you squeezed my head. Thinking about it, I suddenly felt like vomiting. I really didn't want that to happen, so I stopped holding my head. Lately, I had no idea what anyone was saying. Spending time with them was fun. It didn't feel like there was any sort of hidden agenda. I really do think they're all a good bunch of people. When I just moved here and couldn't make heads or tails of anything, they were really kind to me. I need water. I'm dying, I'm parched. And I was really kind and always looked after me. As long as that strange affliction didn't rear its ugly head, she was really pretty cute. Mion was also a really good person. She didn't care about anyone's age or gender and was optimistic and outgoing. I was never bored when I was with her. And talking of not getting bored, Rambunctious Satoko was a good person for that too. She was pretty bratty, but that was just the way she interacted with others. Rika-chan was the same way. She didn't speak often, but that didn't mean she was always silent. They're my friends. But after hearing the better untold secrets of Hinamizawa from Oshi-san, Toмотake-san, when I was told about Oshiro-sama's curse, things started going crazy. Then hearing from Oshi-san that Mion, Rena, Satoko, and Rika-chan were all suspicious. After that, everyone changed. That's right. It all started getting weird after Oshi-san told me all that strange stuff. At that time, I really should have just not listened to those weird stories. And even I shouldn't have heard about the past incidents from Toмотake-san the night of the Watanagashi. If I just hadn't gotten that strange sense of curiosity, if I hadn't just... That's right. So that's why they... killed Toмотake-san. That impudent outsider speaking to the likes of me after everyone went out of their way to keep it a secret from me. They probably killed Oshi-san they'll probably kill Oshi-san as well, for trying to unearth whatever everybody's been warning me was better left buried. Besides that, he was unforgivable for spewing words that made me doubt the others. Of course, a guy like that's going to be murdered. Both Toмотake-san and Oshi-san were nothing but outsiders, after all. They were entities who didn't coexist with the people of Hinamizawa. Those guys should just fall to Otoshiro-sama's curse and die! It wasn't their fault. It was my fault for not being able to hold back my curiosity. It wasn't their fault. It wasn't their fault. It wasn't their fault, it wasn't their fault, it wasn't their fault, it wasn't their fault! I settled into a daze. It was a lethargic feeling like I had just gotten up, but the ominous chill that haunted me had subsided. I was fine now. I was no longer frightened. I'd completely recovered. I'll go to school tomorrow, right as rain. I'll greet everyone. I'll take part in club activities. It'll definitely be fun. It had to be fun. I was one of them, after all. Ah, that reminds me. I need to eat those mochi. I hope I'll be able to tell which one Rena made. Remember the homework the two brought with them when they visited me. But wow, my club did delivery. That was something else. Picked up the package I had dropped on the floor and headed to the living room. It'd be nice, I guess, to have some tea with it. To fill my mouth with mochi while drinking tea. Oh, this is quite a delectable situation I was in. Opening up the newspaper wrapping, there were 4 plump red paste mochi fitted snugly inside. There were letters written from left to right in the newspaper. A, B, C, and D. And E. Now then, they said Rena made one of these. I wonder which one. It's not actually mochi, it's ohagi. But it technically is mochi. It's weird. It follows different rules. There wasn't much different in how they looked. They smelled and appeared about the same. This was a pretty difficult problem. The biggest difference was probably their shape. I wasn't sure what kind of person Mion's grandma was, but Rena had to be different from hers. Looking carefully, I could see one mochi that was made very neatly. So well that, just by staring at it, you could tell it stood out. Looks like this challenge depends on whether or not this one's Rena's. Calm down and think even harder. Mion said her grandma made a ton of them, and was told to give some out, if I remember correctly. So that meant 4 of these were from that large batch. And what about Rena? She probably only made 1. So she probably spent quite a bit of time on it. Meaning, the one Rena had made was this one, E. For a moment I thought it would have been a trap Mion had laid, as she knew I'd picked on it. But that probably wasn't the case. I wouldn't be so sure if I knew Mion had made it, but since she said Rena made it, probably wasn't a trap. Alright, my tea is ready too. I'll start with the defending champion, Mion's grandma. Let's see. Not bad. The smooth bean paste and soft chewy texture left little to be desired. The tea I drank afterwards also accentuated the experience. This was an exquisite piece of work. Now, how about Rena's? The creation was so delicate, one would think that a high-class Japanese dessert. Since I normally had quite the appetite, I was slightly worried about the size of the portion. But, well, first, a bite. This was quite a difficult one to judge, actually. The ingredients were exactly the same, as there was little difference in flavor. What was different was how it was shaped at the end, so it was to be expected. So the deciding factors would be presentation and volume. The well-formed and well-sized champion versus Rena the challenger, the size you just couldn't get enough of. I'd only had 1 bite of Rena's. I'd probably have to wait until after I was done eating to make my decision. Maybe there was something hidden inside that could cause an upset. Seemed my prediction was right. My tongue touched something. Didn't feel like something edible, so I reached in with my fingers and grabbed it. What? What was this? Before I could fully comprehend what it was, I threw away the rest of the mochi I was eating as fast as I could. It slammed against the wall, causing the bean jam to splatter. Then, after sticking for a moment, it slid down on the floor. I was dumbstruck by my own actions. What was I doing? Then I had gone out of her way to make it for me. How could I? Dumbstruck, I looked down at my hand and performed such a vile act, and then remembered what I had taken out of my mouth. At first I thought it was a hair. Even though it was shorter than Mion's or Rena's hair, it was still quite long. And wasn't the short. It was almost a bit too hard to be hair. It was thick enough to be rolled around on my tongue. There was a bit of metallic sheen on the end of it. Ah, yes. There was a hole for where thread goes through. Like it was a sewing needle. Yes, that's right. It looked very much like a sewing needle. Exactly like one. The end was pointed as well. Quite sharply. It really did look just like a sewing needle. Huh? What did I mean looked very much like a sewing needle just a bit ago? I couldn't answer. But a voice inside me already knew and let me know by chattering my molars together. I couldn't stave off the terror welling up inside me. Suddenly I tasted something metallic and felt a prickling pain at the back of my throat. I stuck my finger at the back of my throat and felt around to see if I was bleeding. Suddenly I felt the urge to vomit. A sharp taste of bile irritated the back of my throat. I clasped both hands over my mouth, and after writhing in agony, I was somehow able to hold back the nausea. I was finally able to breathe normally again, but this time my heart was intensely throbbing. Then it finally registered. Exactly what it was mixed in with the mochi. Before I could think of the correct word, my hands were already on the move. Tossed the rest of the mochi against the wall. The geometrical patterns of the scattered bean jam on the wall suddenly invoked a terrible omen in my mind. After looking away, I dashed out of the hall and flew upstairs to my room, where I stayed under my covers until morning. I clutched my own shoulders, howling madly in a mix of fear, anger, sadness, and frustration. It wasn't a threat or warning or reminder, nothing as simple as that. What had happened in Hinamizawa? What is happening in Himizawa? What would happen? I didn't know the answer to any of those questions. Where did I break a taboo? Regardless, now Rena and Mion and the others. They considered me an enemy. They thought I should just die. I won't let them kill me. Not for such a pointless reason. I fell into a restless slumber as I was crushed by my negative emotions. It was as if I was being drawn into a billowing, bottomless marsh. It's okay, Keiichi. It'll be alright. Maybe don't go to school tomorrow. It might be a good idea just not to go to school tomorrow. Just for your own sake, I think you should just stay home. I feel it's important to mention it's not for some reasons just talked about in this, or maybe it is, but Keiichi actually has a fear of needles. Those guys just now. They had national diet badges. Well, the prefecture's assembly member and city councilor Sonozaki. Well, that's interesting. The prefectural assembly member and city council are related. It's dirty is what it is. Shouting out each other's names during elections. While one is up for election, the other holds an assembly, and they double up their campaign activities. Blatantly. I don't know much about this stuff, but isn't that against the rules of the election? As long as they have no prior consolation, there's no restrictions on their political activities. Kuma-chan, the investigation division is going to be pretty tough for you. You should at least brush up on election politics. I'm not suited for the intelligence division, because I'm dumb. There was a prefectural assembly member, Sonozaki, and city councilor Sonozaki, and the mayor of Hinamizawa, all of them involved with the Sonozaki family. What crap. Looks like they were seen off by the department chief and the deputy chief. Came to me. That night, when the chief invited me along to get some Odin, I thought that was it. I have a lot of connections, so you might have heard something. Did you? Nope. Not a thing. Ma'am, I'll take a tofu fritter and fish cake. The counselor barked at me in the police chief's stead. Oh my, is that so? Ma'am, I'll take another bowl. Prefectural Assembly member Sonozaki and City Councilor Sonozaki were both intimidating. Our snot-nosed career police chief couldn't even handle being yelled at by them. They're like Yakuza. Petition with your name came up regarding how the investigation of the Hinamizawa incidents is being handled. Goodness me. I'm not the faintest. No need to play dumb. You're reopening the past cases regarding Hinamizawa, aren't you? I've already got my hands full with Tomotaka's death, actually. Yeah, really. If that's true, then there's no problem. There's a period of silence. While we were silent, we made headway on our food and drank. Whew, that was quite the feast. This month was a bunch of losses for me, so my wallet was feeling the pinch. Much appreciated. Nah, it's nothing. Tell me a good horse again. I'll bet on the same one as you. Nah, I haven't been doing well with area lately. I haven't been able to read the horses at all. Taxi? I'm going by train. The police chief is taking a taxi. I have my own car, but it'd be rash to drive it home. Can't blow it right after retirement with a DUI. Even though he could still rattle off, it looked like his legs were already goo. Pushing him into the cab, I gave the driver the police chief's address. We'll see you again tomorrow. Happy New Year. Oh, Shusan? Yeah. Past incidents all have been closed. Stop lumping them all together. Those villagers half believe it's really a curse. Well, I'm not convinced. You're going to be retiring next year, aren't you? Weren't you going to pay off your mortgage with your pension and move up to Hokkaido with your mom? Mom pines to remember the land of her birth. It's the least I can do. And the pension, well, it'll let me enjoy myself in Shushikino. The police chief may issue a special retirement salary raise, he says. A public servant's pension is calculated based on his monthly salary. So if you were to get a raise right before retirement, your bonus to your salary would be inflated. And you get a heavy surplus of funds. That tends to be how it's done around here. Of course, it's not a custom that's thought of highly. The difference between the bonus and the pension is quite a bit. I'd expect nothing less exemplary from our egghead chief, but, well, they say our salary is compensation for our hard work, but in the end it really just has to do with the passage of time. not something I can laugh at, but I'll laugh through it anyway. I don't think it's anything exemplary. But given how hard you worked, it's not odd that you're getting that much of a pension. I'd like to get that much myself. If I can get it, well, of course I'd want it. Yeah, you'll get it. You're an adult, after all. Sorry for holding you up here, driver. Thank you very much. I closed the door roughly, interrupting the chief's conversation a bit rudely. It looked like the chief still had something to say, but he just smiled warily and waved. I waved in return. The cab sped up gradually and soon disappeared among the sea of lights. Nah. Oh man. I wonder if I really can play that loan. Just another police officer's note. Let's cut to the chase. If there's a drug that causes someone to kill themselves, not directly, no. It's quite a roundabout response. You're saying that there's one that does indirectly? Something that puts you into a suicidal mental state. Like that? That's hard to say. What would a suicidal mental state be? Like a person with serious bipolar disorder. It's believed that people are most likely to attempt suicide when swinging from depression to mania. Clinical depression and bipolar disorder are different. Clinical depression indicates a prolonged state of depression, whereas bipolar disorder is characterized by a passive depressed state accompanied by a very active manic state. Individuals with clinical depression suffer from low self-esteem and are quite pessimistic, but rarely commit suicide. They do not have the willpower to commit suicide, nor does mania on its own lead to suicide. That has an opposite effect, filling the person with confidence and making them feel as though they are walking on air. Thus, they do not commit suicide. That's interesting. Neither state causes suicide, but when the condition changes, they might do so. There's a desire to commit suicide when in a state of depression, but they do not have the willpower to commit such a formidable act. But when they enter mania, they gain a burst of willpower and their body moves as they desire. I feel that's important to mention. That's the very same reason why they say there are thoughts of suicide, that when you start your antidepressants, to immediately call your doctor. Because that means you're getting the willpower to actually do it. You have to be very careful when you first start taking your antidepressants, because those thoughts can increase, and you can actually start trying to do it, because you now have the willpower to do it. I see. So it means they gain the willpower to commit suicide. That's how it goes. That's why patients are given sedatives during that time, to keep them from acting on their impulses. Then was Tomotake bipolar? People who suffer from bipolar disorder generally commit suicide by more civilized means, like, say, hanging or jumping off a building. Self-harm as going through withdrawal is completely different. Tomotake's death wasn't civilized, so one would think it was caused by some foreign substance. As I said from the start, tell me a drug that can cause someone to commit suicide. There are reports that methamphetamine overdoses produce a condition that resembles bipolar disorder. It's a stimulant. By parade, overdoses are also reported to cause erratic behavior. That's a sleep aid. There are no signs of stimulants. Are there any other possibilities? All I can think of is that some sort of illness. Something like Graves' disease, which affects the thyroid, and is known to cause symptoms that resemble bipolar disorder, but Graves' disease has many characteristic symptoms on its own. The deceased exhibited none of them. I wonder, is there something that could have been more spontaneous? Something that fits this case and could cause someone to want to commit suicide all of a sudden? Are you familiar with organic mental disorders? In short, it's a condition where the brain is out of whack due to physical injury or illness. It can be caused by drugs, but it can also be caused by physical trauma. An a stroke, or even tumors. Basically, even without a drug, one can succumb to an irregular mental state. The deceased was surrounded after being chased, and his life was in danger, right? All that stress could have messed with his brain chemistry. He could have hit his head, and those factors combined might have caused him to mutilate himself. It's a possibility. Could you explain it to me in simple terms? Basically, he knocked his noggin in the brawl, and that made him go haywire. Then this lady didn't have any intent to kill, just smacked him in a bad place when he nicked some change. The chew-plump man laughed hoarsely, but of course it's not like that. Undoubtedly. If it was a habitual drug use, if it was something mental, the deceased body holds the key. How are things on your end? Oh my goodness, look at the time. I need to get back soon, or Kuma-chan will get angry with me. Yeah, good luck. Best wishes. Best wishes. Oof. 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 Oof, 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 oof. Oof, 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 oof. Okay. Let's save. Yes. And continue. Tap, tap, tap. Sound of muffled footsteps sat in front of the door of my room. Moment of silence, as if whoever they belonged to was discerning if I was inside. Of all the things I should have been doing, I continued on with my restless slumber. I was very conscious, but my body hadn't caught up yet, even with danger bearing down on me from just beyond the door. It was as if I was completely paralyzed, unable to move. Without a doubt, this was sheer terror. Please, just leave. Hey, why isn't my body awake yet? If they came into my room right now, then... Ah! Ah! I sprang to my feet and threw my covers at my mom, who was opening the door. Oh, Keiichi, what's the matter? Sorry. I was still half asleep. I thought it was still 1 or 2 a.m., but the morning sun was already streaming through the gap between the curtains. It felt nothing like morning. Yesterday I must have fallen asleep right after that. Then I should have gotten a full 10 hours of rest, but it didn't feel like that at all. My internal clock was completely screwed up and my sense of balance felt off. I felt feverish enough that it was clear to me that I was still not well. Well, Keiichi, how are you feeling? Can you make it to school? I was well enough to go, but I wasn't mentally prepared for it. Still plagued with the terror from yesterday. If I had swallowed that needle, what would have happened? Or what if it had pierced my tongue? There was undoubtedly a murderous intent, but I don't think that was all it was. If they really wanted to kill me, then there was other certain ways to do it. They wouldn't resort to such a dubious method to have me swallow a needle. Meaning, I didn't want to believe it, but going that far was just a threat from Rena and Mion. Aren't you glad you didn't die? But next time we'll use a more assured method. Like that. Something like sending a letter with a razor inside would have been a joke compared to this. Did you make it to the hospital? Did you take your medicine? Yeah, kinda. Something in my mom's dubious gaze bothered me. She seemed more concerned about her son missing 2 days of school rather than him being sick. It's definitely mental fatigue. I wasn't really physically ill. It'll be hard for you to get back on track once your daily routine is thrown off. Come on, get on up. They say wellness is a state of mind. I had heard that line many times before. I was given an award in elementary school for having perfect attendance, but it wasn't like I was healthier than everyone. Go on, go wash your face. Breakfast is already ready. There isn't much time before Rena-chan comes and gets you. Mom's tone meant I couldn't argue with it, so I had to give up on skipping a second day. By the way, are you the one who got bean paste all over the living room wall, Keiichi? You shouldn't do something like that. Your father was quite angry. I didn't feel particularly guilty for doing it, so I didn't have much of a reaction. Also, Mom didn't question me any further about it. She headed back downstairs after she was certain I was getting up. When Mion said, as she left her yesterday, I'd hate it if you missed school tomorrow, came back and dwelled in the back of my head. What did she mean by that? I didn't have to really think about it. She was saying, don't be absent. Taking that a bit further, it was the same as her saying that I should go about living my life as if nothing happened. If I showed any signs of acting unusual, it probably result in them making their move. For example, maybe I shouldn't pay attention to someone like Oshi-san enticing me with something unusual. Meaning if I didn't watch my mouth or did anything differently from the norm, in effect it would end up flagging myself as someone who was not wanted. And it seemed there was something that the girls didn't intend to forgive. So, if I just went along as normal, no harm would come to me. Is that how it was going to be? All that misery I experienced up until yesterday would almost creepily just fade away. It was an enticing deal. Just by forgetting everything I had seen or heard, these last few days I'd be able to keep on living like normal. There's no way such a selfish thing could. I swallowed hard, once again deliberated on the idea that I had just rejected. Mion was probably a good person who had her friends at heart. She was giving me, who had mistakenly broken some rule of theirs, a chance. Was what I did really something so unforgivable? But Mion had given me another chance. She was saying if I just forgot everything and kept on living like I had been, I'd be forgiven. Keiichi, your food's going to get cold. Hurry up and get up down here. Rena will be here if you don't hurry. I'm coming. I crammed my textbooks into my bag and hastily made my way downstairs. I picked at my somewhat bland breakfast. It seems I didn't have much time. It was already past when I already met up with Rena. Given yesterday's event, she'd probably be here in the next 5 minutes. I needed to be ready to head to school by then. I had to forget everything that happened the past 2 days. Of forget it all and return to my normal life. For this to be normal, I'll have to be there. I normally meet up with Rena. Today of all days, the rice was dry and hard to get down. I jumped at the sound and dropped my chopsticks. That chime signaled that Rena had arrived. Mom hurried me along. Come on, Rena-chan's already here. Hurry, hurry. My mom's merry smile and my gloomy face were polar opposites. Honestly, I was reluctant to see Rena, who was waiting there on the other side of the door. The Rena on the other side. Was it the Rena I knew? I couldn't keep her waiting. I needed to do things as usual. Morning! An invigorating greeting filtered in from across the doorway. I came since Keiichi-kun was a bit late. Will he be okay today, I wonder? The manner in which Rena was concerned was without doubt the Rena I knew. But that was probably only if I reciprocated. Forget everything from yesterday and pretend as though nothing had happened. Forget about the gruesome dismemberment. Forget about the mysterious deaths that happened the following years. Forget about the people falling to their death and the terminal illness and suicide and the lynching and the disappearances. Forget it. Forget all of it. Forget that Rena and Mion were scary. Of course, forget it all. Forget about everyone. Forget about the mochi too. Forget. Rena once again asked to make sure. Can you make it to school? Yeah, I'm fine. Great! Then let's go. Mi-chan is waiting. Rena showed me her usual bright smile. Couldn't find any hint of any deceit in her expression. My nervousness dissipated, giving way to relief. But you see, Satoko-chan was so insistent she could do it. As we were walking, Rena talked a lot about different stuff, more so than usual. Then? Satoko-chan is clumsy, so she failed no matter how many times she tried. Oh, she was so cute! Everything Rena talked about was just silly nonsense, so I just replied every so often and laughed from time to time. It was a rather laid-back conversation. We passed one of our neighbors, and they called out to us. Oh my, Keiichi-chan and Rena-chan, aren't you two a bit late today? Mion-chan said she was going on ahead. Uh-oh, did Mi-chan look mad? I wonder. We need to hurry, Keiichi-kun. As we smiled and parted ways with our neighbor, they turned back towards me and stuck out a tongue. Not expecting that, I couldn't help but crack a smile. Keiichi-kun smiled. Huh? What? Rena stopped and stared at me. I was thinking that you still hadn't recovered from your cold since you seemed down this morning, Keiichi-kun. But now you seem fine. With a grin, she gently poked my cheek. It was a bright, sincere smile. Hey, Keiichi Maribara, how can you still doubt Rena after she shows you a smile like that? Maybe I just had a high fever up until today, and I imagined everything that I thought happened because I was bedridden and delirious. I really hope that was the case. If God would grant me just one wish, there's only one thing I would wish for. I'd want what happened in the past few days. More specifically, from the night of the Watanagashi up until last night, I wanted all of that to have never happened. I wonder how many times I wished for these past few days. As long as Rena kept on smiling like this, I think it might just become reality. So I wanted Rena to keep on smiling. So, Keiichi-kun, those mochi yesterday, did you eat them all? The vain wish of mine was instantly shattered. My heart began palpitating. The relaxed morning mood suddenly became frigid, and a smile was the same as usual. Her eyes were gentle as usual. Those mochi yesterday, did you eat them all? Of course she wasn't asking the question at face value. In other words, Rena was asking, did you get the message? She was probably trying to convey that. Keiichi-kun? I was reluctant to give an answer, and I stopped walking and stared deeply into my eyes. Don't hesitate, Keiichi Maribara. Rena was acting the same as always, wasn't she? I need to respond in my usual way. Naturally, of course. But both my throat and mouth had gone dry, and my lips were stuck together. Hurry and answer, Keiichi. Not that much time has passed. I could still keep the conversation going naturally. I had to say something quickly. D? Rena playfully mimicked what I said when I finally squeaked something out, and his reaction was still normal, seeing that there wasn't as long a pause as I had thought. Somehow, I finally squeaked out the rest. Delicious! However, my strained efforts neither sullied nor brightened Rena's expression. For a moment I panicked, thinking I had replied incorrectly. But after a few moments, Rena broke into her usual soft smile and giggled with a joyful voice that seemed to echo through the morning air. Being strung along by that laugh, I couldn't help but laugh as well.
I see. So did you read all of them, I wonder?
My timid smile froze again. Did you make it out without swallowing the sewing needle? Was that what she was asking? If I had swallowed it, then I wouldn't be here. Nah, I couldn't finish all of them. There's still some left. I was scared out of my wits, but that's how I played it.
Huh? What about the homework to see if you could tell which one Rena made?
The homework was due today.
Yeah, it's due today. Me and Sean will get angry. There's probably a penalty game ready for you.
We both laughed at each other again. To a casual observer, it was just a typical morning. If I could just let myself believe, then even I'd think it was just a usual morning routine. But I was certain I wasn't mistaken. There was something unimaginable buried beneath the facade of this giggling Rena. Lies! I recalled that unexpected piercing voice that I could hardly believe came from Rena's mouth. Usada! The moment that image crossed my mind, I felt a cold sweat trickle down my back. Was it only at that particular time that something evil had possessed Rena? No, that was wrong. It was still Rena. Oshi-san told me, didn't he? Actually, I looked into her before Ryugu-san moved out to Hinamuizawa. She was suspended from school. It seems she went through her school building and broke all the windows. Rena had a disorder that normal people didn't. No matter how pleasant she smiled, the fact would not change. But I couldn't even imagine how she looked as she broke all the glass throughout the school. One thing I knew was that it wasn't something spur of the moment. If it was some sudden outburst of anger, then maybe she'd break a pane or two. But she broke all the windows all throughout her school. Just imagine going through your own school, breaking the windows with a bat, swinging full force at each pane of glass, one after another, paying no heed to the flying shards. Your classmates aghast, unable to move from the sudden turn of events. I wonder where she could have found the most windows lined up in a row. Probably the hallway. Walk, wind up. Walk, wind up. It was difficult for me to connect that horrifying image with the Rena smiling at me right now. But I just had to imagine it. Impossible because it was unimaginable. That naive way of thinking no longer worked. The unpleasant, piercing sound of shattered glass, the crunching noise as Rena treaded toward the broken shards, walking toward me. Of his classmates going pale as they forget to even breathe. I wonder what they did as Rena came closer, breaking windows along her path. Did they initially try to bring her to her senses by saying something? Or did they jump at her, trying to stop her savagely? Or did they run to the staff room after being directed there by the teachers? Probably none of those. In the face of that blood-curdling slide to front of bursting window after window, undoubtedly all they could do was silently clear a path for her. Dumbfounded, even clearing the path for Rena to continue. It's far too violent an act for them to seek refuge by looking the other way. There's nothing to say. They were looking the other way. They were doing the only thing they could do to protect themselves. If they had done something different from the rest, they may have found themselves as Rena's new target. What would Rena have done to whoever attracted her attention? The answer was obvious. She would have undoubtedly acted according to her whims. Meaning I would, be the next window. Rena staring into my eyes, shards of glass crunching and crackling underfoot as she drew closer. I was almost drawn into her eyes, paralyzed. Then Rena struck me with the bat over and over again, like I was one of those windows. I crouched on the floor, desperately protecting my head. Rena didn't care whether it was my head or my back. Zealously, she hit me again and again. What kind of expression was she making as she was doing it over and over again? Peered up to see. Her expression was so indifferent it was completely unnerving. It's because no matter how many times she struck me, it didn't make me as pleasant a sound as the other windows. She struck me continuously, over and over again. The sound Rena wanted didn't come out. Our classmates standing around didn't try to stop her. They didn't want to be the next window. Somebody save me. Turning a blind eye unless we're hanging out? But of course, everyone in class scrambled to obtain the highest standardized test scores. They'd gain nothing from saving a cram school tryhard like me. Eventually they would veer a fence down, similar to when you crack open a walnut, and some sort of reddish-black spray would shoot out. Anyway, it wasn't that Rena momentarily lost herself in her anger. After forcing myself to breathe and calming down my heart, I recalled what Oshi-san told me. And in the counselor's medical record, he recorded all the conversations he had with Rena-san. It showed up. Quite a bit at that. What does... She mentioned the word Otoshiro-sama. Following that, Rena was suspended and had regular examinations at the hospital. Then, as Rena was undergoing counseling, she said it over and over, Otoshiro-sama. Seeing that Otoshiro-sama she spoke of was like a ghost, appearing in her house every night, standing over her pillow, looking down at her. It was only a piece of their conversation, so I still couldn't see the bigger picture. But it was by no means a happy conversation. Hey, Soggy, what up? Then what Rena did. Was she saying that ghastly incident was a result of her being possessed by Otoshiro-sama? Up until now, I didn't want to believe in Otoshiro-sama's curse. That's why I wanted to say the mysterious deaths every year that happened because of some sort of conspiracy. Every time I talked with Oshi-san, I was more certain that the deaths were the work of men and not some curse. Except if it was people perpetrating the incidents, my friends were somehow deeply connected. If I refused to believe the curse was real, then I would have believed that those who acted the kindest to me were deeply involved in the incidents. Why? How? For what reason? Was Rena? Was everybody? It was much more painful and troublesome than accepting it was just Otoshiro-sama's curse. In the aftermath, Rena was admitted to her doctor that it was because she was possessed by Otoshiro-sama. I felt a strange sense of relief from that. So that's how it was. It wasn't a second side to Rena. She did that because she was possessed by something strange like Otoshiro-sama. It wasn't Rena's fault. Otoshiro-sama was the one to blame. I knew. This is all backwards. Refusing to believe that there was a curse, I wanted there to be a human perpetrator. Now that my close friends were the ones in the suspicion, I changed my beliefs to my own convenience, saying that it was Otoshiro-sama's curse to blame. Which was the better choice, accepting that Otoshiro-sama's curse existed, or that Rena and the rest of them were deeply involved in the strings of mysterious deaths. I don't want to think about it. If I just didn't think about it, I'd be able to continue the same as always. I wanted to believe that. But that was no longer possible. I'd received their message. It was pathetic of me to try and bend the meaning to my own convenience. Regardless of my opponent being human or curse, I wouldn't let it kill me. As if I would just bend over and give in. For no good reason at all.
Cage-kun, you've been making a really weird face. Why, I wonder.
Inhaling sharply upon hearing Rena's voice, I came back to my senses. Before I had realized it, we were already at the entrance. Shaking my head a few times, I exercised all those terrifying thoughts. No matter how you look at it, there was no way Rena could have done such terrible things. It was like I was trying to placate myself. Was it a blackboard eraser on my head? As I slid the door open, a blackboard eraser loaded with chalk dropped down on my head the moment I stepped in the classroom. I knew it! The chalk dust went into my eyes, inducing a brief moment of agony.
How befitting for the truant.
Truant, the words truant.
For the truant Keiichi-san. Good morning to both of you, Keiichi and Rena. Good morning, Satoko-chan, Rika-chan.
Not quite in the mood for it, I didn't react to Satoko's trap. Satoko braced herself as I passed by, expecting me to attack her. She seemed a bit disappointed as I simply walked by silently.
Well, what is this? How discouraging indeed. Keiichi doesn't seem back to his usual self yet. Yeah, take it easy on him for today, okay?
Suddenly there was a slap down on my shoulder. It hurt a bit. Hey, Kate-chan! Did you get enough rest? It was Mion. My mind was full with the stuff about Rena, but Mion was also a party of interest. Remember Keiichi? That hawkish gaze from yesterday. Yeah. Morning. What's with that unenergetic eating? Did you eat the mochi I brought for you? Because I ate them. I'm like this. Those words were itching to be blurted out. I really just didn't have the appetite. I ate a few, but quite a lot were left over. Huh? What about the homework? Do you have an answer for which one was Rena's?
I can't believe you'd forget your homework, H-kun.
Sheesh. Then we can't help it. Time for your penalty. Flashing a lurid smile, Mion returned to her seat. There was nothing from our exchanges that would cause our classmates to suspect anything was amiss. But of course, anyone listening to our conversations up until this morning wouldn't see anything suspicious. That's why it was so frightening. They acted in a way that, regardless of whatever happened to Keiichi Marabara, no one would ever suspect them. That fact made me terrified. Soon the teacher came. After she asked how I felt and took attendance, another dull, ordinary day began. Ha! We're in a bad situation. We don't trust any of our friends. They're all dangerous. Hodges. I had a burp. I had Totino's pizza rolls for dinner, so I'm a bit burpy. The free study period was a convenient time to consider where I stood. I gently closed my eyes and pondered the ridiculous position I was in right now. First of all, what I shouldn't forget was how dangerous of a situation I was in. I had fallen out of favor with them. After interacting with Oshi-san multiple times, I could see I was getting closer to the heart of the matter. The warning yesterday with the mochi was a good indicator of that. No, calling it a warning was just my habit of understating things. Probably had no meaning beyond stunting my progress and buying themselves some time. Until they had a method of completely erasing me. They were just biding their time. Even though they were keeping me under their thumb with threats, it didn't change the fact that I knew too much. The chilling sensation of my desk made me recall Satoshi Hojo, the boy who was using the seat until last year when he disappeared. Was he also similar to me? Did he learn something he shouldn't have and was erased? Damn. I wouldn't let them get rid of me so easily, never. But were they really trying to kill me? I had these contradictory feelings for a while now. Even though I suspected them, I felt I had to cover for them. With all the suspicious behavior, a morning like this just made it all seem like an elaborate hoax. No, I just want to believe it. Doubting my friends? Covering for them? My life was in danger. Or was it? Actually, I was debating the wrong point. Given my current situation, those points were something that could have been deliberated on a long time ago. But really, Rena and the rest of them, were they actually aiming to kill me? The voice inside my head continued to torment me with these unresolved trains of thought. Are you an idiot, Keiichi Marabara? The answer should be obvious. But maybe that sewing needle might have been just an accident, right? How could you screw up and drop a sewing needle into a piece of mochi? The benefit of the doubt can only go so far. Both Rena and Mion had acted and behaved suspiciously, but maybe it was all some sort of misunderstanding. What kind of misunderstanding? It wasn't just suspicious. It was outright ludicrous, right? Rena just corrected me for lying. And Mion only asked me what I had for lunch. Rena was standing outside our door eavesdropping for a good hour, you know. She was probably just waiting for my phone call to end. For a whole hour outside your room? And is it normal to go home afterwards without saying anything? You heard from Moshi-san, didn't you? About what Rena did to her former school? But at the hospital, she said it was older Sudo-sama's fault. Cut it out, Keiichi Marabara. Don't you realize they're out to kill you? I inadvertently blurted out those words out loud. Hearing myself say that so directly left me dumbfounded for a few moments. After a round, I had to check around if anyone else heard it. My little soliloquy cut a little too close to the truth. Even though I could feel the murderous intent from Rena and the others, part of me somewhere was still trying to deny that. This late in the game, such hesitation could be fatal. I knew that. But I was just your average student, a man living his normal, ordinary life. Do you think I could suddenly believe that my friends, who had been happily laughing together with me up until last Sunday, now intended to kill me, right? You're too soft, Keiichi. This time I remembered to keep my voice low so only I could hear it. There was one thing I now understood. I was too soft. I didn't completely understand how dangerous Rena and the rest of them were. No, I wasn't trying to understand. I was too soft for not listening to Oshi-san when he needed to earnestly show me the heart of the matter. I didn't listen because I was too busy pretending to be dejected. I didn't comprehend it. I was just running away. I didn't comprehend it, so nobody had any notion to try and kill me. I needed to get rid of such naive thoughts. As I made that resolution, I heard the bell signaling the end of class. So soon. The day was already over. I didn't recall eating lunch or doing anything in class. My friends were putting their desks together in preparation for club activities. Not long ago, I probably would have happily jumped into the circle.
My, Keiichi-san. How did you even think about leaving?
The way Sadako spoke was so typical and familiar, it almost physically hurt.
Huh? Keiichi-kun, is today not a good day, I wonder? And we were going to win big together. Oh.
Seeing Rena's expression, which said she was really looking forward to today, was hard to take. Hey, Keiichi, maybe Oshi-san is just some enormous jerk trying to separate me from the others by lying to me? Trying to expend such weak-minded thinking, I slapped myself in the face.
Keiichi-kun!
Yeah, was Rena really trying to kill me? I wish someone would tell me it was a hoax. I didn't care if it was actually one or not. I just wanted someone to say it was. Another weak-willed thought. How did I become this naive?
Are you alright? Does your head hurt?
Apparently that's how my inner dilemma appeared to Rena.
You're pale. Can you make it home by yourself? Maybe I should accompany you home, I wonder.
No, it's okay. Sorry. I can get home by myself. Just have the meeting without me. Upon hearing that I wasn't going to participate in the club meeting, Mion pouted unhappily.
Since Kei-chan is so bent on a revenge match, we were going to play that deduction game from before, too. Kei-chan doesn't have the burning desire for a rematch? How pathetic!
I wouldn't fall for some dumb taunt. Even without a real retort, I just grabbed my bag and was about to get up. Someone's hand perched itself gently on my head.
Keiichi doesn't seem to be well. How very unfortunate.
It was Rika-chan. She was stretched up as far as she could go, doing her best to pat my head with her petite hand. It felt so nice, which made things even harder. Sorry, everybody. See you. That's all I said as I quickly left the classroom. They said something to me as I was leaving, but I couldn't make it out. I managed to make it all the way to the entrance in that state of mind. Took out my shoes, put them on, and then went forward. Harder than that heart, Keiichi Marubara. They were, for some unfathomable reason, trying to kill me. They were plotting something dubious, watching my every move. But I couldn't hate them. Because, weren't they my friends? Part of me lamented my naivete, while another part lamented the fact that I had lost something important by lamenting over it in the first place. Felt like my consciousness was being ripped out of my body. If this is what Oroshido-sama's curse was like, then it was just too harsh. Hey, Oroshido-sama, I was wrong for not believing in your curse. But I believed in it now. Completely. Curse does exist. So seriously, give me a break. Beg you, come on. Dinner was unusually bland. There was no flavor or aroma. The miso soup that was normally tantalizing my appetite instead tasted like nothing but boiled water. Dad was eating with us that night. It was a rare occurrence in this household. When he got into his work, he ate and slept on his own schedule. My dad never cared about the time. Since my dad was at the dinner table, it was either meant he had just reached a good point to take a break, or he was in a slump. So yeah, he just doesn't understand the motivation creators have.
Your partnership is just a verbal agreement, wasn't it? It's so hard to agree on things. Why not just end it?
I feel like it's an industry with a lot of back scratching. When it gets in the way of business, I wasn't able to pick out much from my mom and dad's conversation, but I could tell it wasn't a very pleasant topic. That, of course, made the disgusting food even less appealing. Staring listlessly at the exchange between my parents, my mind wandered off the same thought process I had going through all day long. Friends close to me. No, they used to be friends, but I could no longer trust them. Right now, I was greatly lacking in allies. People I trusted, people I could depend on when push came to shove. They were something I just didn't have. Having just one ally would have been incredibly reassuring in this currently hopeless situation I was in. I put down my chopsticks and looked over at my parents, who were still talking about work. The first course of action that came to mind was to tell my parents everything. Currently, there wasn't a single person from Hinamizawa I could trust 100%. That meant the only people I could trust were my parents. But if I had told them everything that had happened until now, would they understand? Rena, for example. That neighborly Rena was so diligent in looking after me, came to me every day, and sometimes brought over the share of what she made. How could I explain that she wanted to kill me? No matter how I explained, it would probably be difficult for anyone to comprehend. My somewhat eccentric dad wouldn't understand, and my high-strung mom would probably drag me off to a psychiatrist in the blink of an eye. Sadly, that was the amount of trust that existed in our relationship. Even if they did come to understand, what could they possibly do? Unless they could uncover the truth, they wouldn't be able to protect me. No, by informing them of these unnecessary things, I was putting my parents in danger as well. Considering that the victims in the past instance were often married couples, I couldn't even joke about it. For the entire Maribara family to have an accident or just vanish into thin air, it was easily possible in Hinamizawa. What was important here was that knowing something unnecessary put you in danger. The most unsettling question was, how did they know that I knew? As long as they didn't know, my parents might not fall victim. That was one way to think about it, I guess. At least it was like that in my case. After I found out, things started becoming odd. In other words, it meant the following. As long as my parents didn't know anything, nothing would happen to them. As long as my parents were here, this house would be a safe haven for them. I knew these were just assumptions based on conjecture on top of conjecture. Wanting this house to be a safe haven, that was the pinnacle of my weak-willed method of thinking. I had to concede that it was not completely safe. It's only safer than the outside. I knew that I couldn't rely on my parents. No, I couldn't risk getting my parents involved. Then the only person who could be my ally would be Oshi-san, him and him alone. He was the only person who understood the situation I was in. He didn't care so much about my safety, but he was, without a doubt, passionate about solving this case. It was a bit frustrating. Oshi-san was basically the only reason I was in this mess. Now to get out of it, I had to rely on him, meaning it was all going according to his devices. It's just my job to look appetizing while bobbing in the waves as bait. Then when the fish started gathering around, Oshi-san would pull up the big haul. It was slightly infuriating, but even I thought that was the best course of action. So then, what should I do? Patience was the first rule of fishing. Just keep waiting until the fish actually bites. But I wasn't simply bait. There were lots of ways for me to struggle before being devoured. When they struck, I needed to somehow dodge just enough and tag out to Oshi-san. No question, it was going to be hard. The timing to bring Oshi-san in would be difficult. He was in the city, not Hinamizawa, so if I phoned to him in a moment of need, it would take him about 30 minutes to reach me, so I needed to run away for those 30 minutes. For example, if we set up a rendezvous point with dire situations or something, I just had to hide out there until Oshi-san arrived. Okay, I can almost see it now. I was still being chased around in the dark by boogeymen, but now I knew which way to go. I would never have imagined this would be so reassuring. Oh yeah, probably best if I had a concealed weapon for when things got rough. Typically, that would call for a switchblade, but those weren't too reassuring for combat. Also, since it was recognized as a weapon by the public, it also wasn't good. Really, when the time comes, a long weapon like a bat would work in my favor. Remember, there was a metal bat at school. I could be confident with that when push came to shove. If I pretended I was practicing my swing, then it wouldn't be too suspicious for me to always carry it around. I could go to school early tomorrow and secure it. Just possessing a weapon may be enough to deter them. Also, one more thing, insurance. It could be something like a note or memo. I could write down everything that happened as a sort of journal. In case I suddenly vanished, the journal would be left behind. With my journal in his possession, Oshi-san would be able to avenge my death. I left my parents engrossed in their conversation about work and went back to my room. It's not insurance, you're writing last will and testament, Keiichi. Come on now. I tore out a piece of paper from a notebook and made my way to my desk. Last time I wrote a journal was for summer homework in elementary school. In the off chance something bad happened and the police had to use my diary as a lead, so I should only write down the facts. How should I start? I jolted down my thoughts as they came. I, Keiichi Maribara, in fear of my life. It made me laugh nervously. It was a line that showed up often in detective stories, and I never even dreamed that I would be the type of situation where I'd write it myself. I do not know why they are after my life. And the others are suspicious, but I have no proof, and that's why I couldn't write anything more. I laughed royally to myself with writing such a passage draped in mystery. Would the police be able to get the hint from reading this enigmatic passage? I could only pray that they would. What I prayed for most, though, was that this journal never needed to play its part. Here, I laughed nervously. It's too simple, so I wrote down one line that I just thought of. The only thing I know is that it has to do with Oroshiro-sama's curse. Was that too much? I probably shouldn't write down more than that. If I wrote any more, it would seem like I was just delusional. In order to appear to the reader that the person who had written this was of sound mind, I chose not to write anything else at that point. I just needed to add more as I learned more about the truth. I folded the paper and thought about a place to hide it. By hiding it somewhere obvious, there was a chance they would uncover it instead. On the other hand, if it was too obscure of a location, there'd be risk of nobody finding it at all. In the end, I decided to take the clock off my wall and stick my folded note in the back of it with scotch tape. After that, I put the clock back on into its normal position. Yeah, it didn't look like anything was hidden behind it. Now I needed to set it up such that if anything happens to me, my parents could find it. I looked at it for countless different angles until I was satisfied and made my way downstairs. My parents were still talking about work. It didn't look like it was going to end anytime soon, so I cut in. Sorry to interrupt. I have something I want to talk to you about. I never started off a conversation like that before, so my parents were both startled. They stopped talking and turned towards me. What is it, Keiichi? I have a favor to ask you. Please listen. Just in case, yeah? If it's not urgent, can we do this later? Right now, Mommy and Daddy are having something urgent they're talking about. I didn't think their talk was more urgent than mine. In any case, I started my request. Just in case, okay? If I die... Both of my parents' eyes went wide as saucers. If I die, I want you to put the clock on my wall in my coffin. If they did that, then they'd probably find it. My memoir. Both my parents remained wide-eyed, not moving an inch. I couldn't blame them. I made that clock in a shop class, and I really like it. So please, what's the matter? Keiichi, did something happen? Mom was finally able to ask me with a questioning gaze. Of course, this is a normal response when someone's son suddenly talked about the subject like this. I felt bad for making them worry, but right now I just wanted them to think about the clock in my room. With the awkward mood leaving the room in silence, I decided to go back up to my room. I want to go to school early tomorrow, so I'm going to bed. Good night. Saying only that, I left the living room. Yeah, you can't just leave a conversation like that. I needed to get to school early and secure that bat. I should make today the last day I went to school with Rena. As I climbed the stairs, I heard my mom calling my name, but I pretended not to hear her. It wasn't something I could talk about with my parents. If I talked about it, it would only make things more dangerous. The fight that had begun was mine, and mine alone, and I wouldn't rely on anybody. I wouldn't be killed, not when I still knew nothing. Yeah, tell no one and be by yourself. That sounds like a great idea, Keiichi. It's not. It's really not. It's a terrible idea. Keiichi, you're a fucking moron. Maybe saved your tips. Not feeling so hot. Chasing shadows. What an achievement.
Keiichi-kun's been feeling down lately. Maybe he's in a bad mood.
I wonder. Maybe he's on his period.
Me-chan, that's gross. What do you think? Don't know. Could be that
Kei-chan.
maybe, I don't know. That day Kei-chan was in the car talking to somebody tubby middle-aged guy, right? Yeah, no mistake.
That Oshi probably fed him something fishy.
He was so serious. Keiichi-kun's face was so pale.
You see, you might not know this, but he's actually the messenger of Otoshiro-sama.
Huh? What do you mean?
Whenever he shows up, someone is demoned away. No lie.
Oh? Is that so?
The year before last, when Miko-chan's mom drowned, right? Right before that, she was visited by Oshi.
Now that you mention it happened before Satoshi-kun transferred out.
Transferred? You're so sweet, Rena.
So this time he appears before Keiichi-kun. So Keiichi-kun's gonna be demoned away too?
An empty silence hung in the air, and then it was suddenly interrupted by loud laughter. I think we're on the last chapter, you guys. I think chapter 11's the last one. I'm worried. This is not going to end well, because this is when he starts getting the bat. And it's the first time I'd ever woke with such clarity. It was 5:59, just moments before my alarm would go off. I was amazed at the precision of my internal clock. I had made preparations for the next day of school before I went to bed. I changed quickly and descended to the deserted lower floor. It appeared that my mom was still asleep. Neither breakfast nor lunch was ready. Yesterday I had unilaterally declared that I would be leaving early today, so it couldn't be helped. I slammed jam on some bread and tossed it with some instant cocoa. Just as I finished up breakfast, Mom groggily rose up from her slumber.
Why, Keiichi, you're up early. Is there some sort of school event?
Not really. Answering bluntly, I picked up my bag and stood after stuffing 2 slices of bread down my throat.
You're leaving already? What about lunch? If you don't wait a bit, I can't make it.
If I waited for her to make my lunch, then it would end up being the same time as usual. If I did that, it would raise the chances of me running into Rena and Mion on the way. Yes, from today onwards, I'd be going to school alone. I'll be fine for today.
Then what will you do for lunch?
I'll slip out and buy some bread or something at the store.
Really? Then here's some lunch money. Be sure to bring me back the receipt.
I took the 1,000 yen bill from my mom and slipped it into my pocket.
It's pretty early. Is Rena up this early as well?
No, just me.
Did you tell Rena-chan that you're leaving early?
I have no reason to tell her every little detail now, do I? Finding it difficult answering the onslaught of questions, I made an annoyed face. Tell Rena that I went ahead when she comes.
Hey, Keiichi, wait!
It's not that I didn't trust my parents. I just couldn't rely on them. They couldn't help me. I could only hope that they didn't get involved. It was safer that way. My mom's annoying voice was cut off by the slam of the door. For the first time since I moved here, I headed down the road to school alone. Up until now, I'd always walked the same path, the same time every day, so I always met with the same people at the same places, but today was different. I didn't meet the people I would normally, and nobody was at the places where I would have normally met them. Of course, Rena wasn't in the spot where we usually met, and there wasn't anyone at the spot where we would have met up with Mion. The length of the tree shadows, the morning air, and the brightness of the sun was a completely different type of morning than what I was used to. Without a doubt, it felt strange. It left me with the impression that I had destroyed the illusion Hinamizawa had set up for me before it had enough time to prepare all the props needed to deceive me.
My Keiichi-kun, you're up early today. Is everyone meeting early this morning?
The person who called out to me was someone we always passed by, but we're taking a walk along the edge of the fields. Their name was, I forgot. Of course, this wasn't the spot where we usually passed each other. I woke up early today, so I thought it would be a good change of pace. That's all. I threw out a random excuse.
What about Rena-chan and Mio-chan? Are you by yourself today?
Well, yeah. I was being asked the same type of questions my mom was asking, so I answered them in the same uninterested, vague manner. It wasn't funny being asked where Rena was each time I passed by someone. Maybe it was to be expected. It was because for so long we were always together so amicably. Even I felt that if I let my guard down, I'd still be Stop it, Keiichi. Don't think about that anymore. You spent all day yesterday thinking about how dangerous it was to go soft, didn't you? Beep, beep. Car horn blared out of nowhere. Even though I was walking lost in thought, the horn was way too close. The mechanical behemoth barreled at me from behind, catching me completely off guard. By the time I turned around, the van's hulking chassis had it almost on top of me. I had seen plenty of cars veer to the opposite shoulder to avoid pedestrians, but this car was doing the opposite. It felt like there was somebody on the opposite shoulder, and the van was swerving in my direction to avoid them. That blissfully and ignorant train of thought delayed me upon realizing something much, much more important. That large mass was hurtling right at me. Was it going to hit me? The inside of my head instantly flooded with painfully cold liquid. That moment, the scene before me, no time itself had frozen. In the silence of that frozen moment, I compared the van. So close there was no way to dodge it, and my body, the upper half twisting awkwardly in order to look behind me. There was no way I could dive out of the way in my current position. If I lost focus now, this moment would unpause, and I'd probably be plowed over, caught in a silly pose. Bend my upper body over toward the paddy by the side of the road. If I bent far enough, I'd get away just being hit by the side view mirror. As soon as the thought crossed my mind, the temporary stasis was shattered by the deafening sound of the van. The side mirror struck my shoulder, sending me spinning off through the air like a top, locked in a contorted position. Splash! Sent tumbling through the air, I crashed into the muddy paddy by the side of the road. My entire body was soiled and drenched, but the choice I had made in the instant was unmistakably for the best. It was covered in mud, but when the alternative was getting hit by the car, it was the closest I could be to being unscathed. Rising out of the paddy, I had enough in me to glare over at the stopped van and yell profanities at the driver. Not sure if he was able to see me, but the van sped off suddenly. Wait, damn it! This is what they call a hit and run, wasn't it? I couldn't help but continue yelling out profanities. The disgrace from being covered in mud hurt me more than physical wounds. I slogged through the muddy paddy and made my way back up onto the road. It's a crime, goddammit! Shit! I'll track you down and sue you! I'll go looking for a van. I'll make sure I find it in this little village. The path I was on had rice paddies on either side, so it had become so narrow that only one car could barely fit through it. It wasn't a place where you could share full speed down in a car, let alone pass by pedestrians. It only wasn't a narrow road, but the car just now was closer on the side of the road than the other when it was past me. Even if I cursed, I was desperately trying to suppress the dark cloud roiling up within me. It wasn't just a hit and run. That car just now was trying to run me over, wasn't it? Thinking back, I did feel like there had been a car creeping up on me slowly for a while. That's right, as soon as I parted ways with that person wanting to taking a walk, I had a feeling the whole time. If it had wanted to pass me, then it had no shortage of chances. Normally, I would have felt suspicious and turned around sooner. But I was lost in thought, and now was kicking myself for not realizing it was there sooner. And then, when the path became narrow and there was no else in sight, he floored it. If I had hesitated for even the moment, the result would have been no laughing matter. As the adrenaline rush from nearly being run over subsided, the realization of just how terrifying the preceding events were sunk in. There was no doubt about it. The man was intentionally trying to hit me. A cold, viscous sweat dripped from my scalp and slid down my back before dribbling off. Struggled to avoid falling into a panic. There's still the possibility that this was really just an accident. Calm down, Keiichi. But also don't be so naive, Keiichi. Being that lax will get you killed next time. You need to always be on your toes. Don't give them any openings. If my enemy was really out to kill me, the next time they'd just use a more reliable method. That time came, and I was acting like I was now. I, being covered in mud, was the price I had paid for my own naivete. Covered in mud, but without injury. Not even a sprain. I guess this is what you would call the silver lining. I began walking again, this time cautiously. I wouldn't even show a hint of carelessness. I suspected only Rena and the others up until now. No, it's because I suspected them that I had believed there was no other enemies. Oshi-san had said so, didn't he? There was a possibility that all the families of the village were involved. Was I really mired so deeply in the situation that I had no choice but to try and carry on as usual? Wouldn't it be safest just to hole myself up in my house? But the moment I abandoned my regular routine, everyone around me would abandon theirs as well. It's just too horrifying a thought. I recalled the tales Oshi-san had told me of when Hinamizawa was still called Onikakushi. A frightening tale of an entire village of demons hunting their prey, surrounding them and eating them alive. One must not interfere with the demons. One must pretend not to see it. The enemy was numerous, all the village families. The villagers were, with their unwavering faith in the curse, would do nothing to help me. Heh! The strong, sudden flash of sunshine made me slightly dizzy. I had no idea what was going on anymore. When I suspected it was the work of man, I caught a glimpse of Otoshiro-sama's curse. When I suspected it was Otoshiro-sama's curse, someone had poked their head out. What was the coincidence? What was coincidence? What was intentional? Who was my enemy? Who was just a bystander? No, what I really truly wanted to know is how would I end up with the proverbial bullseye painted on my back? Eventually an answer in a form that I could understand will appear. I don't care when that will happen, because until then I cannot die. That alone fueled my resolve to fight and will keep me alive. I remembered seeing the metal bat in the gym storage shed, but there was a padlock on the door barring my entry. At the very least, I wanted to get my hands on it before everyone else arrived at school. I struggled around the school grounds impatiently. But all I could find was things like pieces of lumber, nothing I could bring into the classroom easily. Then I had an epiphany. I should search inside the classroom. If it was something like in the classroom to begin with, then there wouldn't be a problem. I could tell that everyone's shoes were still in their lockers. Good thing I came early. Nobody else was here yet. I wondered, what could I find in the classroom? I didn't think I could find an especially effective weapon like a bat, but it couldn't be helped at this point. Until the gym storage shed was opened, I needed to find a substitute. A lingering hint of naivete whispered that there was no way I'd be attacked at school, but such soft ideas would no longer protect me. To think that they were slowly making their way into parts of my life that I had only thought impenetrable. In the worst case, my own house might not be safe anymore. It was an incredibly frightening thought. I believe that not considering the worst-case scenario would have been even more frightening. Anyways, I will survive. As long as I lived, definitely be able to escape this labyrinth of nonsense. I will survive! Hey! Sorry, I gotta lighten the mood for myself. Definitely. There's a bat in one of the lockers! My exploration of the classroom came to an impasse. It was much to be expected. There's no way there would be anything that could be a weapon in the classroom. In case of emergency, there's probably nothing I could do but swing my own chair around. My gaze landed on the lockers that had come to be used for personal storage. The locker that Mion used to sort her pile of games was among them. There was one for each person in class, all lined up. Of course, there was one for me as well. Oh yeah, there's supposed to be still a tracksuit in my locker. Seeing me covered in mud would be strange. Let's go change later. First, I needed a weapon. If one of my classmates came, it'd be hard to rummage through all the lockers. So we began opening the lockers one by one. They were mostly just filled with things like gym clothes, personal items, and umbrellas. An umbrella. If I couldn't find anything better, then this would have to be my weapon. I was about to give up on finding anything decent when I held a locker that held exactly what I wanted. It was, without a doubt, a metal bat. It was well worn and beaten up, but there was no doubt it was usable. In that locker that reeked of mold, there also hung a baseball uniform. Probably the locker of a student in a Pee-wee league or something like that. If that was the case, then he probably asked for it back. At that time, I could hear the voices of the children scuffling their way noisily in the hallway. Amongst them, I could make out Rika-chan and Satoko.
Good morning. My, you're quite early this morning, Kate-san.
I nonchalantly hid the bat I was holding behind my back.
What is with your outfit? You're covered in mud!
Yeah, I had a little incident. I'm going to change now, so cut me some slack. That said, I began taking off my clothes. Sadako began to blush, just as I expected her to.
Standing in front of a lady? Have you no tact at all?
I would think that a lady staring at someone who was changing would be the one lacking in tact. There was no changing room for voice, so just deal with it. As Sadako feigned disgust, she went into the hall, still blushing. Conversely, Rika-chan continued to stare at me, preparing to change. If Rika-chan is a lady as well, then I don't think it'd be appropriate for you to be watching.
I'm not a lady, so it's fine.
She deliberately pouted and looked at me with upturned eyes. Then, starting now, you're a lady.
If I'm a lady, then I suppose I must.
Rika-chan, appearing to be satisfied with being considered a lady, made her way to join Satoko in the hallway. Just as I breathed a sigh of relief, Rika-chan stopped suddenly and turned back towards me.
Are you going to start playing baseball?
Seeing that Rika-chan had noticed the bat. Yeah, just, I was feeling a bit out of shape. So I thought I'd just try practicing my swing.
I think it's wonderful you're taking care of your health.
She was talking like an old lady despite her appearance. After saying that, Rika-chan started leaving again, but stopped and looked back at me once more.
Please don't lose that bat.
Seems she already knew I took it out of someone's locker. There was no name on the locker door. I didn't know whose bat it was. But I would be borrowing it until they complained. Wouldn't be for long. Just until the gym storage opened. After quickly changing into the tracksuit, I checked the time. I still had plenty of time before class began, because I came so early. Took the bat in one hand and went out to the schoolyard, so as of course to practice my swing. I needed to make it known that I would always have a bat on me so I could practice my swing. At some point, the sunlight had become even stronger. Disregarding my classmates as they made their way to school, I took my position in the shadow of the school building. I wasn't the academic type, and I wasn't much of an athlete either. I might get muscle pain if I suddenly started swinging. I should at least start out with some warm-ups. I doubt anyone would think I was doing something out of the ordinary, which was the exact opposite of my actual mental state. I grabbed the bat and swung lightly. The bat was by no means light. The weight would make it a reliable weapon when I needed it to be. Of course, I could only pray that the moment I needed to use this weapon would never come. Just carrying it around could deter attacks against me. At least that's what I hoped.
Huh? Kate-chan?
What are you doing? Being bombarded with such a hysterical voice, I jumped.
Whoa! Keiichi-kun, are you on the baseball team? The baseball team?
It was Rena and Mion. I was surprised to hear you went off ahead. What are you doing, Kei-chan? Can't you tell by looking? I'm practicing my swing for the championship. You can say it's part of my diet if you want. Diet? Kei-chan, are you really that fat? Bet you didn't know. I actually have a beer belly. It's plump and jiggles.
Plump and jiggles?
Rena, you don't have to imagine something weird like that. Disrupt Rena from imagining something that vulgar. I ruffled her hair mustily. Well then, hope you make it to regionals at least. This old man will cheer you on.
Regionally speaking, it seems that Oshima High is pretty strong. They say their South Paw Kamida-kun is amazing. Good luck!
Seems they made me out as some kind of local prodigy as well. Well, if I really did make it to the championship, it would be a cinch. After all, I'd be the pitcher and catcher. I'd pitch the ball and then run past the ball I just threw and change over to being the catcher in a burst of super incredible explosive speed. After I lay out the ludicrous image. Coming back to my senses, I smashed the bat against the ground. Damn it! What am I laughing at? Pounded the ground over and over. With each impact, the reverberation traveling through the back stung my hands. If they make that smile like that, I'll... Don't allow anyone close to me. Don't trust anyone. No matter how many times I tell myself that, if they make me smile like that, I'll... I already knew quite well that they were demons dwelling in my smiling friends, but I just couldn't believe it. Did that kind of split personality really exist? Like how Rena confessed to the doctor, were they simply possessed by Otoshiro-sama? In other words, does supernatural being like Otoshiro-sama really exist? And was it possessing someone everyone didn't try and kill me? Yeah, that would be wonderful. If only everyone was actually my friends all along and everything was just Otoshiro-sama's fault. Damn fool Keiichi Madarabata, come on now! I yelled out, drawing out all the power from the pit of my stomach, and raised the bat violently into the air. Stop being so soft! As I screamed out with all my might, I beat the metal bat on the ground over and over. With each impact, my weakness was being beaten down. Smash. Forget. Smash. Don't be soft. Smash. Know your enemy. Smash. Like hell I'd let them kill me. My shoulders heaved up and down from my ragged breathing. I heard the first bell just as I calmed down. I gasped with a sudden realization. That was the final bell. As I felt all the tension drained from me, I let out a deep breath. My mind was in a muddled state for much of the entire day. I didn't feel like I was awake, but I didn't feel like I was asleep either. I couldn't say it felt especially comfortable, but I felt a kind of relief that the sanctity of the school day of my daily life had yet to be violated. How long would I have to keep on living like this? I could only grit my teeth and bear with it as long as my living hell slowly gnawed away at me.
Keiichi-kun, come on! It's club time!
The sound of Rena's voice brought me back to my senses.
Come on, Kei-chan, stop spacing out! Bring your desk!
Everyone was moving their desks together as usual. That's right, it was happy fun club time! But I had no intention of taking part. I haphazardly stuffed the contents of my desk into my bag as I prepared to go home. It was a weak-handed gesture to avoid having to say, actually saying, I'll be going home now. What's this, Kei-chan? You planning on going home right away again? Mion sounded quite disappointed. Just not in the mood. Could you just let me be for a while? The tone of words spilled from my mouth matched Mion's disapproving glare. I felt like the air in the room had dried out. Satoko looked like she was going to say something, but perhaps dissuaded by the mood, she swallowed her words and stayed silent. Nobody said a thing. I took that to mean that I could leave if I wanted. The collective gaze of the four of them, like tiny pins used to mount an insect on display, held me in place. Brennan was the one that cut through the heavy mood.
Keiichi-kun, you just didn't like playing with girls, I guess.
She said it in such a melancholic tone that it sent a wave of pain racing through my heart. If that pain was going to kill me, I wanted it to be the soft part of me that could still feel pain. I tore at my chest, violently tearing out the pins that held me in place. It's not it at all. I'd only been hurting myself by saying anything more, so I swallowed my words. Cutting things off there, I turned away and exited the classroom. They didn't speak a word to me as I left. It was a long, dull trip back home, but I didn't lose focus. Firmly squeezed the grip of the bat that was already soggy from sweat. Realizing it, I wiped it down with my sleeve. If something were to happen, I wouldn't want it to be slippery. Since this morning, I had become especially sensitive to the presence of cars. Even while walking, my ears pricked up and sought out threatening sounds and presences that could be closing in. That's why I could hear it. Without a doubt, there were footsteps. Those footsteps were matched up perfectly with mine for a while now. From what I could sense, it was just one person. But I had no intention of being careless. Did they intend to follow me like the car this morning, until they were in a good location to assault me? Then it wasn't a good idea to keep walking like this. Stop walking and look back. The wooden path, crowded with trees, responded with silence, as if there was no one there to begin with. But I wouldn't be fooled. I was certain footsteps were following me. Just as I stopped, the footsteps stopped as well, meaning the person following me wanted to keep their distance. That was, without question, proof that I was their target. I held my breath, waiting for that presence to panic and start moving again. The trees rustled with the sound of the wind. The Higurashi also joined the dissonant chords, trying to throw my focus into disarray. Had 5 minutes passed. Had I been like this a whole 30 minutes? So hard to breathe that I might have suffocated. Seemed I would be the first one to panic. Without doubt, he was lurking in the shade of the tree with bated breath. Then I'd make the first move. I fixed my grip on the bat. Raised it up with my shoulder ready to swing it at any time. Hey! I know you're there! With all my might, I screamed at whoever was hiding in the shade of the trees. But the presence in the shade didn't budge. Till the moment I found them, they had no intention of revealing themselves. I know already! I know you're there! I screamed out angrily at them, but even still they didn't move at all. Then I'll go there myself. With all due diligence, I approached step by step, stepping into the tree shadow. I saw a human figure there. That figure was curled up like a small animal. Rena? When she realized I had found her, her expression softened. She seemed apologetic, but wasn't going to speak a word. Did you have some business with me? I wouldn't accept the silence and screamed the question at her. Not really, it's just no. Rena was in a panic with tears welling up in her eyes, but it was obvious that she had been following me. What about the club? Since you're not, I'm not. That shouldn't matter. Don't mind me and just play. But I'm just worried about you. Thinking about how I'd been acting until now, it wasn't hard to imagine that my behavior would be perceived as strange. So Rena was concerned. At a quick glance, that's how it would seem. But I wasn't going to let my guard down that easily. Even if that was really the case, she still wouldn't have to do something like that to try and tail me. She should have called out to me when I was leaving and gone outright with me. But Rena didn't do that. She kept her distance from me and matched my walking speed. On top of that, she matched the sound of her footsteps and deviously tried to hide her presence from me. Then, after she realized I noticed she was there, she held her breath as she tried hiding from me. She wore a timid expression that would force one to take pity on her. Without doubt, she was tailing me. Stop following me! Still glaring at Rena, I continued walking onwards. After I'd walked for a bit, she ignored my command and began walking again, so I yelled at her once more. I told you not to follow me! But my house is in the same direction! Then walk ahead of me. I'll start walking once I can't see you anymore. I moved out of the way and waved my bat violently to urge her forward. I'd like to go home together with you. Making a pitiful expression, she meekly squeaked out the words in a voice that she knew would cut into my heart. That agitated me to no end. I knew it was a lie. If I wanted to go home together, then you should have called out to me. Now you're just blurting out random lies. I'm sorry. It seemed that the seething anger within me was written all over my face. Even without me saying anything, Rena had understood what I was feeling inside. If you get it, then go. I swung the bat, urging her again to walk. Rena looked back and forth between me and the bat and started walking hesitantly, then stopped again. Go on, then. Hurry. I'm going, so please stop with the bat. It's scary. Rena guarded herself while pointing at me, holding the bat. She may have realized I wasn't planning on using this bat for baseball. Lowered the bat, but still guarded open the way for her. Go. There's no problem now, is there? There was nothing else she could protest. She passed by me timidly as not to set me off. As I watched her pass by, she stopped completely after barely moving at all. Hey, don't stop! Then a powerful gust blew past us, barraging my face with dust. The dust got in my eyes and clouded my vision. While rubbing my eyes with my left hand, I swung blindly with the bat with my right, protecting the small opening I had presented. But Rena didn't even try to attack during that opening. Attack me? No, she hadn't budged an inch. I could tell from the sound of her floating skirt in the wind. Her skirt settled silence. At that moment, the voice inside me immediately warned me of impending danger. I was caught by surprise. The smell of the air had changed. Without me realizing it, the air around me suddenly felt like a calamity was about to befall me. It's like the air had suddenly become invisibly concrete, like Rena and I were locked in this space. Rena didn't move an inch. Almost unable to move, I stared at her back. Rena was the first to break the silence. Instantly, she altered her stance. Felt like I had just witnessed her shift from Rena into the other person who looks like Rena. But the voice was the one I knew well, which filled me with a kind of bewildering pity. Carelessly, I felt relief upon hearing that pitiful voice. Excuse me, but, can I ask you something? Too shy to even turn around, Rena squeezed her voice out desperately, as she trembled. What? Why do you have a bat, I wonder? The question Rena asked was by no means unexpected. I can carry whatever I want.
But you didn't have one until today. Why so suddenly?
It's all right if I decide to do something suddenly, isn't it? Is it strange that I have a bat?
Because Keiichi-kun, you're not the kind of person to play baseball. It's weird.
I couldn't tell what kind of answer she was looking for, and I was getting tired of answering her. I just suddenly got the urge to play baseball. That's so weird.
It's weird.
She answered instantly, and that annoyed me slightly. I just suddenly wanted to play baseball. And I wanted to practice my swing. I'm carrying around a bat. What's strange about that?
Strange. Weird. Definitely. Why is Keiichi-kun also?
Your ramblings are annoying me. Is that strange for me to have an interest in sports? I tried to sound a bit more threatening to the end of the conversation. Until my suspicions about Rena were cleared, I had no obligation to answer her questions.
I'm sorry. Don't get so angry.
Rena still didn't turn around and spat out the words of apology one after the next.
Just one last thing. Tell me one last thing.
I don't feel like talking anymore. Hurry up and go. I yelled out loudly at her, causing her to flinch like she had been struck. Seeing her in such a pathetic state caused my heart to ache sorely, but even though she was afraid, she stubbornly kept herself from moving. Before I was able to threaten her again, Rena asked her final question.
Why is that bat the same too?
What did she mean by the bat was the same? I had no idea what she was talking about. What are you saying?
I mean, why is even the bat the same?
I don't understand what you mean at all. Say it clearly. Even still, Rena didn't turn around. After inhaling deeply, she screamed,
I mean, why is even the bat the same as Satoshi's gun?
Satoshi being... Huh? Upon hearing the name out of the blue, I became dumbfounded for a brief moment. By Satoshi, she meant the student who transferred out last year. No, that couldn't be. Rena had tried to cover it up by saying he had transferred, but Oshi-san told me clearly he was missing. He was the student who sat at my seat until last year. They also believed he had been demoned away by Oshiro-sama's curse. I didn't know the details about his disappearance. The aunt he lived with was killed the night of the Watsunagashi by a drug addict, but not long after that he suddenly vanished and was now missing. That Satoshi and I were what? My gaze fell on the bat in my hands. Could it be Satoshi Hojo? It was a bit difficult to see, but that was what was written on the white tape at the end of the bat. I see, so this was Satoshi's bat. Oh, this was Satoshi's bat. Since nobody was using it, I borrowed it. That's not a problem, is it?
That's not it.
The way Rena said it made it seem like this bat was something that should not ever be touched. Like it was some sort of offering at a shrine, or a memento of the deceased. I could only stand there, perplexed and unable to respond. Rena continued speaking without waiting for a reply.
Why is it that you're doing the exact same thing Satoshi did before when it happened to him?
Rena was talking more than just the bat belonging to Satoshi.
The same with Satoshi-kun. He joined a baseball team, but he didn't really like baseball.
What does that have to do with me?
Satoshi-kun also suddenly started walking around with a bat one day. He joined a team, but he wasn't the type to play sports.
What about it? I closed my mouth before I could say that out loud. Listen careful, Keiichi. Ben is trying to tell us something important.
Satoshi-kun also. One day he came to school all by himself all of a sudden, just like Keiichi-kun. Then one day he started practicing his swing, just like Keiichi-kun. Then one day he suddenly began carrying around that bat around with him, just like Keiichi-kun. Then one day he suddenly...
Then one day suddenly what? Rena had swallowed her words. Then a sudden silence brought a hush back to the surrounding area. It was then I could finally digest the contents of the entire conversation. She was saying my chain of actions were exactly the same as Satoshi's. What was the meaning of this? Up until just now, I forgot all about Satoshi. I had never paid much thought to him in the first place. Not only that, I didn't even know anything about what he had done. My actions today should have been my own creation after all the planning I had done, but they had been the exact same as Satoshi's? And Satoshi, more importantly, if both Satoshi and I act the same, then there's a really good possibility that what happened after would be the same. Benna, that's A. What happened to Satoshi? Benna knew. She knew what became of Satoshi. No, forget about what happened to a guy in the past. Rena knew what was going to happen to me. Answer me, Rena! Satoshi, what happened to him? Then I grabbed Rena's shoulders violently and forced her to turn around to face me. I faced her. I felt the jolt travel through my entire body. I told you, Keiichi-kun. It was that person that I didn't know. At least, it definitely wasn't Rena Ryugu I'd been talking to up until now. The voice just now didn't have a trace of trembling or emotion that it had before. The amount of regret I felt from turning her around so carelessly was unsurpassed. the gaze that pierced like a cold needle, the smile on my face that invoked an image of having been carved by a knife. Chills went down my spine. My mind froze under a layer of mine. Both of Rena's eyes pierced through mine, leaving me unable to look away. As if to remind me of the fear that time before, Rena brought her face closer to mine. So close I could feel her breath. Her face has filled my entire field of vision. Then her sharply shaped lips grew even sharper. Like a curve of crescent moon, she grinned.
I told you, Keiichi-kun.
After a short pause, Rena repeated the same words again.
Satoshi-kun, you see, transferred out.
Transferred meaning what? What Rena meant must have had some new definition of transfer that I was previously not aware of. My throat and lips dried up. I couldn't even acknowledge what I had just heard. All I could do was swallow down my own saliva. It would seem that Rena saw that as a nod. She pulled her gaze back and spryly stepped back 2-3 paces. As she did, my legs gave out and I fell to my knees pathetically. Rena, and me on my knees underneath her motionless smile. That had to be a very odd sight indeed. Seeing me in that pathetic state, she neither scoffed nor held out her hand, but I could neither stand nor escape her gaze shooting through my eyes. There was undoubtedly a metal bat in my hand, but right now it was useless to me. I was like a fly caught in her web. Heavy sweat beaded all over my body and I could feel it dripping from my skin.
But you won't, will you, Keiichi-kun?
Rena finally released me from that cage of time, which felt like an eternity. But her question was missing something important. It was incredibly vague. Once again I swallowed hard, urging her on. Do what? What did she not want me to do?
Transfer.
Rena, you're scary! Stop being so scary. Stop it, please. I beg. Please don't be scary. Maybe. You're gonna be very scary, aren't you? Not gonna matter. Pitch hitter. Satoshi and I had what? All my well-planned actions throughout the day turned out to have been nothing more than a reenactment of what Satoshi had done. Had he really been in the same situation I was in now? The friends he had gone along with had changed suddenly, and for no reason, at least none that I had noticed, planned to kill him. Then, fearing for his life as I am, he got a bat to protect himself and carried it around every day to practice his swing. Then one day, suddenly, he transferred. My blood went cold, causing a prickling sensation to course through my veins. Starting me in my heart, it radiated outwards from the top of my head to the soles of my feet, chilling every part of me without recourse. Did she mean by transfer? What did she mean by transfer? Was Satoshi still at wherever he transferred to? Was he the only one being able to understand me? Would he be able to tell me why it all ended up like this? More importantly, where did he transfer to? What did she mean by transfer? He got demoned away, boy! Before I knew it, I was at the front door. The frigid knob was hard to turn. Was nobody home? It wasn't that odd of an occurrence. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a single key attached to my first yellow keychain. I stepped into the entryway. Just as I was about to take off my shoes, my chill ran down my spine. Someone had entered right behind me. Like a classmate messing around, standing right up against my back. You're kidding, right? It had to be my imagination. Logically speaking, it was impossible for someone to hide their presence within my personal space all the way through the door. But there was undoubtedly someone behind me. Hey now, Keiichi. How do you know they're there, even though they're behind you? Because I could hear the sound of flowing hair. There's no other reason I could hear that sound. That was the presence. Because I could hear the sound of them blinking. Keiichi Marabara, there's no way you could hear that. It was mostly instinct than anything else that was warning me of that presence. Common sense was telling me that it was just my imagination. It was just my imagination. There was nobody behind me. I began to erase the mental image of the eerie figure standing behind me. But at the same time I asked myself, if there was nobody, then what was I feeling? As an uncomfortable sensation crawled up my spine. Actually, wouldn't it be better if there was somebody there? If there was nobody there when you turned, would you be able to accept that? I'd be able to answer all those questions just by looking behind me, but I didn't have enough courage to even do that simple task. Alright, I could try speaking to them. The person behind me might answer me. It was a random thought. I didn't care how it went about it. I just thought I didn't have to turn around. If I calmed down and thought about it, I would have known it wouldn't have solved anything. Who is it? I spoke in such a hoarse, broken voice that I couldn't believe it was my own. I could almost feel them contemplating their response. I felt it. There was no way I should have been able to do that. Calm down, Keiichi. It's all in your head. That time I was certain I heard it. As if hesitating, trying to answer my query, certain I heard the sound of someone inhaling. I heard it clearly. It was a girl. A young girl. I didn't know who, but a tiny speck of courage in me. However reckless, in spite of a primal yet fitting solution to this current predicament, a scream. All the force of my body released from my lungs, and I through my throat, ceasing all thought and processes of my head. Suppressing all my thoughts and emotions, I began to collapse like a house of cards, somehow managing to twist my body and look back as I did so. It was definitely there. Right there. Somebody was there. So the moment I turned around until I brought the area behind me in my field of vision, they were definitely there. Falling face up, my eyes traced the remnants of this presence suspended in the empty space. It couldn't be. They were invisible. They looked like they weren't there, but they were actually still standing there. As I screamed, all the emotions I was holding back burst free in a violent wave. However, as I decidedly calm and my emotional dam collapsed, the turbulent wave of pent-up emotions was skillfully diverted into a torrent of aggression. That emotion was definitely required to eradicate myself from the bizarre situation happening right in front of me. In my state of heightened lucidity, I thrusted my body into fury, the metal bat held firmly in my right hand as if drawn there by a magnet. A mid-level sweep would be the hardest attack to dodge. I remember reading something like that from a book about swordsmanship or something. Ah! I brandished my will to fight. The afterimage of that amalgamation of metal flashed as it swung from left to right, beating through against the entryway. The bat slammed into the right wall, the tip rebounding violently. Very calmly I transferred the force to rebound the sweep to the left. The door of the shoe cupboard was split into pieces. Those two swings whiffed through empty space, but they seemed to have great psychological impact on the enemy. You could feel the panic emanating from that space. The attack wasn't the only thing required. I extracted the back from the cupboard that was embedded in and screamed as I spun my entire body around in a large arc. Ah! My scream shook the air, imbuing my ferocious swing with even more destructive power. Creak. Without mercy or restraint, my violent strike, with certain fatal force behind it, shattered the top of the cupboard. None of my attacks struck the enemy, while my ferocity was certainly seeming to impact them. Breathing heavily, my entire body soaked in sweat, the invisible enemy, there but not there, dispersed. When I was certain that the enemy had retreated, I locked the front door and latched the chain. No way, had it only feigned retreat and was now inside my house? Once again I channeled my aggression and searched the house for the presence, but it was gone. I had succeeded in fending it off. At that moment the tension drained from my body and let out a deep sigh of relief. All the emotions I had been holding back chaotically merged together and began to flood out. A hodgepodge of fear, accomplishment, and disbelief all mixed together and began to flow through my body. Unable to deal with such individual feeling, I beat them all back with the strongest exhaustion. Even in this moment I remained composed. After checking that all the doors throughout the house were locked, I went up to the room on the second floor and closed the curtains. I straightened my back and tilted my head back a little. After clearing my mind of all my idle thoughts, I managed to calm down even more. What was all that at the front door? There's definitely something there. Thinking about it, maybe it was just an apparition I dreamed up in my confused state. But I really didn't think it was the case. Calm down, Keiichi Madarabara. Compose yourself. But no matter how calmly I thought about it, what just happened wasn't a figment of my imagination. It was obviously a supernatural premonition, and without doubt something was behind me. It wasn't some sort of illusion I saw amidst my confusion and disorientation. Proof? I just had one piece. When I asked who it is, they inhaled as if they were about to answer. That sound was clearly reached my ears. The situation I was in right now was still unclear. Either I'd been possessed by the supernatural phenomenon known as Oda Shido-sama's curse, or this was a ruse by the villagers who believed it and were imitating it. Either way, their motives were unclear. The roundabout way it had been done was also still a mystery. If it was perpetrated by humans, it would mean admitting that it was Rena and the rest of them doing it, but it would be solvable. Oshi-san and the rest of the police would surely arrest my enemy. But if it was a manifestation of Oda Shido-sama's curse, I wonder what would happen. Oshi-san was very clearly declared the curse didn't exist. At that time, those words were pretty dependable. But as things were now, with the rising possibility that the perpetrators were not human, he suddenly seemed quite unreliable. I told Oshi-san this was the work of the Oda Shido-sama's curse, what would happen? I couldn't imagine his reaction, but it would go without question that a void would expand rapidly between myself and Oshi-san. With me having so few allies to begin with, and not being able to confidently declare whether or not this was a curse or not, there was no merit in doing that. I'd better keep the facts of what just happened at the doorway to myself. It'd be better if I didn't add what happened here to the memo behind the clock. Still the ever so slight possibility that I was actually confused when I thought I was being composed, just going berserk at the entryway. How wonderful it would be if it was really what happened. I would be able to refute Oshiro-sama's curse. But if I denied Oshiro-sama's curse, and that was actually admitting that Ren and the rest were the perpetrators. If I said that Ren and the rest weren't the perpetrators, that would mean believing in Oshiro-sama's curse. By denying both of these, I'd be admitting that I myself was losing it. The three options of which I couldn't choose became a trilemma of sorts. Trilemma? Is that a word? Is trilemma a word? I don't think trilemma's a word. I'm pretty sure it's not a word. They mixed together and formed a whirlpool in my head, making my head spin. Once again, I straightened myself and leaned my head back slightly to cool myself down.
Water!
Calm down, Keiichi. Accept what has happened as reality. Stop thinking of anything more than that. But I couldn't help but think of it. How wonderful it would be if it turned out I was delirious, and everything up until now was a figment of my imagination. Oshiro-sama's curse wouldn't exist, I would still be the bestest buddies with Ren and the rest. Oh, it would have to be crazy. That was the first time in my life I had ever wished for such a thing. Gotta go mad! Going crazy is better than the alternative. Why is my phone ringing? The phone rang noisily downstairs. Generally, there were no calls for me, so I never really answered the phone much. Since my parents weren't there, I had no choice. I squirmed off bed and went downstairs. Hello, this is the Maibara residence.
Keiichi, this is Mom.
I intuitively had a bad feeling about this. It was because I thought she was going to ask me to go out and buy some things. So I took the initiative. What? I don't mind having instant noodles for dinner. There's still a lot of them. The other day, we went out as a family and bought a whole case of cup noodles. I wanted to get a bunch of different kinds, actually, but they refused since the individual packs were expensive. So instead I got a whole case of mega-sized pork, bone, and ginger flavor ones I liked. But my parents didn't like strong flavors and didn't touch any of them, so the cupboards were still full of them. So you see, there really isn't any need to go shopping, right?
Keiichi, I'm not asking you to go shopping. Both Mommy and Daddy are going to have to go to Tokyo right now because of work.
Huh? Right now? That was really abrupt.
No, we're already here. We left this afternoon.
It's quite a distance to Tokyo from Hinamizawa. Gunning at full speed down the highway, it'd still take 6 hours. Dad has a license, but since he doesn't like the highway, they likely took the train. It'd have taken longer.
I'm thinking you might understand since you heard us speaking last night, but it has to do with Daddy's contract. Right now, things aren't going so smoothly.
So now that she mentioned it, I did remember they talked about that how his job prospects weren't looking so good.
Daddy's really sensitive about things like this, so if we leave things as it are, it will affect his work.
Part of my father's particular fragile artistic personality, his emotions changed as easily as the fall sky. You could also just say he couldn't take criticism. But something like that can't be done over the phone.
Keiichi.
Something like that can be done over the phone.
Keiichi, this is your father's job, so can you support him a bit, please? Anyways, it's just faster to talk about it in person, so there won't be any misunderstandings.
As their son, there was nothing more I could say once they started talking about work.
So we'll be back tomorrow night. Keiichi, will you be fine on your own?
It's not like I'll die or anything. Red flag!
Keiichi, you shouldn't speak so lightly of dying. If something troubling you, just talk to us. I believe Mommy will be able to help out.
Yesterday I did bring up if I die rather abruptly, so I suppose they're a little worried. But really, I was more depressed by the fact that nothing would be solved by telling them. But I didn't plan on dying. At least not while I still knew nothing. I would never allow it. I won't die. I won't. I'll survive, even if I have to gnaw my leg off.
Yeah, see you then. Tomorrow morning, make sure to wake up and eat your breakfast. And don't forget to take a bath and brush your teeth.
Yeah, see you. Call ended like that. Sometimes my parents went off to Tokyo for business meetings, but Tokyo was far away. They normally did things by phone. Times they did go were normally planned out in advance. It never happened this suddenly. I couldn't say that those circumstances didn't feel strange or rather unnatural. Anyway, I only needed to recognize the reality of the situation. That tonight, I was the only one in the house. That when my parents came back from work, I'd be gone, missing, vanished. Looking back on the series of events of the previous 5 years involving Oshiro-sama's curse, it wouldn't seem that strange at all. Trying to think of it, it was getting pretty late. I didn't think it was a good thing that the only light on in the house is from my room on the second floor. It's the same as broadcasting to the enemy that my parents are gone, and this is their chance. First, I ran to the living room, flicking on the lights. Turned on the TV as reassuring volume. Next was the study. I simply turned on the lights and some music. With this, from the outside, it looked like my parents were here. Once again, I went through the house, checking to see if there was anything left unlocked. When I saw that the veranda and laundry still hanging out there, I went pale. You made it too obvious. I needed to take it down. I snatched down the laundry haphazardly and erased all traces that my mother wasn't there. It should be fine now. Oh, the garbage! The garage! They hadn't gone all the way to Tokyo by car, but they had gone up to Okiyamiya Station. The garage was empty, wide open, and in plain sight. That was not good! I panicked and rushed to the back to close the normally open garage door. It'd be fine now. I need to get the paper. Mom always got the paper. Since they left in the afternoon, the evening paper was still out there. My premonition was correct. I pulled out everything from the mailbox and dropped it in the entryway. With this for sure, this time it should be fine. Come to think of it, leaving the cupboard busted like this for my little freak out was kind of bad. I'll just say I tripped and fell, and the bat was holding it smashed it. Even so, leaving it in the current state wasn't good. I should clean it up a little before Mom got back and scolded me. I remembered there was a broom and dustpan in the closet. As I was getting there, the phone rang once again. Hello, this is the Maibara residence. Oh, is this Kage-kun? Is your mother around? She isn't here at the moment. You idiot, Kage Maibara. Don't reveal that to your parents are gone. You can follow up still. Calm down. Take care of it. I think she'll be back soon. That wasn't a good response either. Now they might say they'll call again or tell her to call me. Well, that's fine. It wasn't anything important. Well then, sorry for the bother. The scenario I feared didn't play out, eliciting a sigh of relief. That call was fortunate in more ways than one. I had to deal with more telephone calls coming in from my parents tonight. I was somehow able to deal with the phone call just now, but I couldn't continue to rely on such poor improvisation. I needed to make up a good story and explain that my parents were home, but couldn't answer the phone at the moment. They were making tempura and couldn't step away right now. That wasn't good enough. They were sick and went to bed because they weren't feeling well. Was that going to be safe enough? I was thinking about it on my way to the room when the phone rang again. It's like they were calling because they knew I was going to lie. I didn't want to pick up, but I knew I had to. They'd suspect my parents weren't here. I should have just taken the phone off the hook and under the pretense that I didn't realize it was. Since the phone rang, I had to pick it up. Prepared myself and lifted up the receiver. Hello? Stopped announcing this is the Maibara residence. I had no reason to be kind to someone I didn't know the identity of. But unlike my uncouth voice, the person on the other side sounded goofy and lighthearted. Hello, my apologies for calling so late. This is Oshi from the Okiyamiya bookstore. Oshi-san! Is that you, Maibara-san? Good evening. Good to hear you're doing well. Wait just a moment, please. I grabbed the portable handset and rushed up to my room with it. It was the same no matter where I was, since there was no one else in the house, but I wanted to be in a spot that felt a bit safer when speaking on the phone with Oshi-san. I almost bit my tongue there. Sorry for the wait. How are things? Anything changed since then? When was that exactly? Something about the brazen way he talked that rubbed me the wrong way. The last time I spoke with Oshi-san was 2 days ago. The day I stayed home from school, I met Oshi-san on the way back from the hospital, and we headed into town for lunch and had a talk. After that, Rayon and Mion came to check up on me. Whenever I spoke with Oshi-san, they always knew about it. This was like that since the first time I met him. Today's phone call may be found out by them as well. Hello? Can you hear me, Maibara-san? Huh? Oh, sorry. What did you say? I asked if anything changed since last time. There wasn't an answer, so I got a bit worried. Not really. The words stopped in my throat. There was a ton of stuff that happened. All of it baffling. What should I talk about? I didn't understand any of it, but I should try asking. If I didn't ask now, I'd never have another chance. This night, when my parents weren't home, I had no guarantees I'd make it through the night safely after all. Well, Oshi-san, it seems that someone is after me. Really? It could just be a coincidence, but that day I missed school when I was sick, the two of them came to check up on me. Which two? Rena and Mion. They started asking about how I had lunch with you. What next? They left me some mochi when they came to visit, but there was a needle inside. Fortunately, I somehow didn't swallow it. I wonder, could that have been a threat? About the needle. It was just one of those common sewing needles that you see all the time. There was a hole for the thread string through it. Not that, Maibara-san, the needle itself. That's evidence. It could be used as proof that they threatened you. Where's that needle? That's right. That's it! I dropped the receiver and rushed downstairs. When I tossed the mochi, I had overlooked it out in terror. But that needle was a valuable piece of evidence. I had certainly thrown the mochi and the needle at the wall together. If it was there, then it'd be in the living room wall. My prudent mother had cleaned that living room wall, and there was not a trace of mochi left on it. Could it be that it dropped in the gap between the wall and the carpet? I frantically searched by running my palm through the carpet, but nothing turned up. I tried moving around the sofa and desk, pulling up the carpet and flapping it around, but I couldn't find that needle. Did my mom clean up everything without noticing it? It was just 2 days ago. I didn't know what day they collected the burnable trash, but it may still be in the trash bin in the kitchen. I rushed into the kitchen, opening up the lid, and poured out the contents. But even at a glance, I could tell that it would be incredibly difficult to find the needle in that pile of trash. I was looking for a needle in a trash sack. I know. Try running my hands through it. It was a bit gross, but I was looking for a needle. If I felt a small prick, I'd be able to find it. It was a pretty tactless method, but it was the quickest. I held my breath and started striking the pile of trash with my hand. Filth flew around. There was nothing more disgusting than this. It was not the time to be concerned about such details. I continued on for a while, but nothing turned up. I wanted to search more, though. But I was still on the phone. I couldn't keep Oshi-san waiting for too long. Later, when Mom got back, I'd ask her if there was a needle. I slowly began scribbling on a notepad affixated to the fridge with a magnet. Was there a needle? I scrawled the words with red pen. I then dashed up the stairs where I had been keeping Oshi-san waiting for far too long. Hello? How'd it go? I couldn't find it. I was really overwhelmed back then, and I see. It would be great if you could find it. Keep it safe. That's right, the needle wasn't the only incident. I had to tell him about this morning with the hit and run. Also, Oshi-san, that wasn't all. Actually, this morning, that van was definitely aiming for me. I could say that without question due to the circumstances at that time. Did you see the license plate? I can search for it from here. Damn! Just flipped out yelling at him back then, but I didn't look at the plate. Failures on my part with the needles and the plate number. So focused on protecting myself that I left some of the most important details slip out of my grasp. I punched my pillow, annoyed at how worthless I was. I'm sorry. I don't know how much that is. Not much then, it's a white van. Nothing to fret about, Mayabara-san. Anyone would be shaken up after being hit. I guess all that is really isn't coincidence, is it? Oshi-san started to hem and haw over on the other side. I could imagine him folding his arms. Also, Rena is acting strange. How so? Well, Rena said on the way home today, asking him why I was so much like Satoshi-kun. Now I could say it with confidence, that Rena knew what happened to Satoshi. She knew that there was more to it than him just simply disappearing. Rena knows. She knows something regarding what happened to Satoshi, the kid who was demoned away last year. What would that be exactly? Rena said I was the same as Satoshi. She said something to the effect that the way things are going, I'm going to end up with the same fate as Satoshi. Fate, you say. Exactly what kind of fate did she say would befall you? Transferring out, she said. Transferring out? Rena said Satoshi transferred out. So given how things are going with me, I'll transfer out too. Oshi-san let out a stern sigh and then grumbled loudly. Marabara-san, that's probably some sort of threat. Or maybe some kind of warning. I thought so too. At that point I started to think. Would it be prudent to sum up everything that had happened until now as the machinations of some human perpetrator? Other than the theory of it being Rena and the others, I was left with Oroshiro-sama's curse actually existing as one of the only other explanations. Of course I couldn't tell that to Oshi-san, except Rena's strange behavior could be proof of either scenarios. Whether it was Oroshiro-sama's curse being real or everything being part of a conspiracy committed by all the villagers, Rena was involved. Rena had to know something. Rena was suspicious. What exactly was Rena? I couldn't help but think she was somehow involved with the prior string of mysterious deaths. I seem to recall that Oshi-san had admitted that he had dug into Rena's past a little. He's probably downplaying it when he said a little, meaning he had actually dug pretty deep, most likely. I wanted to hear about Rena. I wanted to know what happened to her previous school, among other things that were still unknown to me. If Rena was someone I should suspect, no, not that. I wanted to know the truth. Tonight I was alone in this huge house. Even though I said I couldn't count on them, I had lost the security I felt when just by my parents being around. It wasn't like this house was some sort of fortress or castle. If a malicious person decided to use brute force, they could easily gain entry. There were no other residents close to the Mayabara residence. No one would be able to hear anything, no matter how loud it was. I had never felt as much resentment toward my father's artistic temperament and the fact that he had to have this house built in such a remote location as I did right now. I wonder if I would still be here by tomorrow morning. So I had to ask. Right now. Because I had no idea when the next chance would come. Oshi-san, I have something I wanted to ask about. Please, don't keep anything from me. Sure, ask away. Even though he was so far away on the other end of the line, there was almost the most reliable he had ever felt. I wanted to ask about Rena. About what happened to her previous school. Actually, regarding Rena's... I noticed a sound that had been going on for a while now. Since I was so focused on the call, I hadn't paid attention to it at first, but I finally realized it was the doorbell. The time was 7 o'clock. It was past the time the postman would be making a delivery, and past any sensible time for a neighbor to be visiting. I considered just acting like nobody was home, but that wouldn't be good. That would ruin all the work I put into making it look like my parents were home. I needed to answer the door. Hello, Mayabara-san. Sorry, someone seems to be at the door. I'm going to go see who it is. A guest? I see, my apologies. Should we end this phone call now? That would be a problem. No, I'll be right back in a second. Do you mind if I leave the phone on? It's fine, I don't mind. I dropped the handset on my bed and dashed down to the door. I needed to make a good excuse to get them to leave. I had a hunch that it was the lady who called right before Oshi-san did. In which case it'd be one of the neighbors who's friends with my mom. I'd just say Mom isn't feeling well and went to bed early. That'd be the easiest option. Stop ringing the doorbell! It's hard for her to ask me to wake up my mom if she's not feeling well. The bell continued to ring at usual intervals. If someone didn't answer after you rang the bell so much, you'd normally give up and go home, wouldn't you? Without moving the chain, I opened the door slightly and peered out at the visitor. A chill ran down my spine. I knew it. Somewhere deep inside, I was prepared for this moment. I tried to escape by imagining it was the easiest person to deal with, one of my mom's friends. It's Rena.
Good evening.
Rena. There shouldn't be any reason for Rena to come over at this hour. The timing almost made me feel uneasy, because it was just as I was about to ask Oshi-san about Rena. I wish I could have chalked this up to mere coincidence, but those unsettling words from Mion several days ago echoed back to me. There's nothing this old man doesn't know. Are you alone, Rena?
Yeah.
Seeing that Mion wasn't with her, but that didn't change the situation at all. Why did you come here?
Hey, Keiichi-kun, I'd like you to open the door so we can talk. Can I come inside, I wonder?
It's true that speaking through a chained door wasn't the right way to talk to a classmate, but at my house the chain has to be on at night. Don't worry about it.
Then it can't be helped, I guess.
Rena pouted rather sadly. She kept smiling at least, and her effort to keep that smile up was quite pitiful. Even though she was tugging at my heartstrings, I didn't lower my guard. As long as I stayed like this, even if it made my heart ache, my life wasn't in danger. But I really feared, more than the possibility that the hoodlums would assault me if I removed the chains, was trusting Rena enough to remove the chain, and having my friendship betrayed. As long as the chain wasn't unlatched, even if it made my heart ache, I wouldn't have to deal with being betrayed by Rena. Since it didn't seem like I'd removed the chain from her silent urging, she appeared to give up on trying to get it into the entryway.
Have you eaten yet, Keiichi-kun?
No, I haven't eaten. Since my mom wasn't here, dinner wouldn't be ready no matter how long I waited. I lay down when I got home, was woken up by the phone, and didn't have a chance to eat since I used up all the time talking. I was going to have cup noodles in any case. I could just eat one whenever I wanted to. No, not yet. What about it?
That's good. Look here. I brought a bunch of dishes.
Rena held out a stack of boxes wrapped in cloth.
If I could use your kitchen, I could heat up the miso soup and other stuff.
It's fine, you don't need to do that.
But there's a lot of tofu and vegetables in it.
Does Keiichi-kun not like that kind of stuff?
I wonder.
There's no way I wouldn't like that. I love miso soup with lots of ingredients. White radish, carrots, burdock root, and potatoes. Then some fibrous fruit vegetables. Yeah, that miso soup looks incredible.
I also brought rice, so if you microwave it, you can eat it real quickly.
Without a doubt, rice needs miso soup. Stuffing rice down your gullet, sipping miso soup in different ravenous bites. Oh, yes, how wonderful it was to be born Japanese.
Also, I made some more pickles. I made sashimi pickles this time. Sansai pickles this time.
Before I moved here to Hinamizawa, I scoffed at the mountain vegetable called sansai. But I was captivated by the charm the first time I tried them. Such a deep, yet light flavor. The vegetables from the supermarket were tasteless and bland compared to these. If I described them, then they were the vegetables from the uninitiated. To become an expert such as myself, you first had to partake in sansai. It's common knowledge around here that the Ryugu family's traditional pickles were wonderfully delicious. No matter what kind of pickles they were, they'd go well with that fluffy white rice.
And also...
But wait, there's more! So delicious, it just seems so delicious! Farewell to my unhealthy self, who said he'd make do with cup noodles! Lena appeared to be in good spirits, and she was offering such delicious-sounding dinner. The stress evaporated from my gut, and hunger reared its ferocious head. At the same time, my wariness of Rena suddenly dwindled. Rena did say she was alone. It shouldn't be a problem letting her inside. But the possibility that it was laced with poison still hadn't been ruled out. At that moment, a cold chill ran down my spine once again. I couldn't understand why such a sensation had occurred just then, but the voice inside me was sounding the alarm. This happy Rena was speaking of this charming dinner was dependent on one premise, and that premise was that tonight dinner hadn't been made at my house, meaning it was under the assumption that my mom, who should be making it, wasn't here. At any normal household, 7 o'clock would be around the middle of dinner time. If my mom were here, we'd be eating dinner around this time as well. The fact that she brought over all the makings of a meal at this time were inherently strange. Unless she knew. Rena, did she know that my parents weren't home? But there was also the chance that this was a bluff. I had turned down on the lights and a bunch of other stuff to make it seem like my parents were here. There was a chance that Rena was unsure if my parents were home, but I had to wonder. The laundry, the garbage, the evening paper. There were plenty of signs of them being hastily tidied up. It's hard to say that Rena didn't have a chance to determine if my parents were here or not. But there was no reason for me to confess that right now. I should try holding on to the fact that as long as I could. First of all, the chain was still latched. As long as I didn't take it off, Rena wouldn't be able to do anything to me. Shit. I'm quite grateful, but dinner will be ready pretty soon.
Huh? Is that so? Is that so?
I know you went through all the effort and everything, but, well, unable to think of a good way to refuse, my words trailed off weakly.
But some of this could work as side dishes, I think.
I'm sorry. You have more than enough already. My mom always makes quite a few dishes. So...
Huh? You have side dishes?
With a smile that bordered on a cringe, I dodged her questions apathetically. Apologetically, but the feeling I tried to ignore began creeping up my back again. I spoke as if my mom was settling down dinner right now, but it wouldn't mesh well with what Rena was saying. Rena was talking as if she was aware of some obvious fact. And that, I was aware of it as well.
So Kate-kun can cook. What did you make, I wonder?
No, well, it's not that I... Rena had assumed out of nowhere that I made the dishes. Which would go in the fly in the face of things. No, not so much that I made them, but rather that my mom hadn't.
Did you really make them? The side dishes. Did you, Keiichi-kun?
It wasn't me who made them. My mom did. No, she's making them right now. So you see, I'm sorry, but I can't eat what you brought. Then I fell silent at that moment. At that moment, I felt that the light had suddenly disappeared from her eyes.
How about I try guessing what Keiichi-kun's dinner will be?
It doesn't matter what I'm going to eat.
Let's see.
The conversation might appear natural at first glance, but Rena was firmly in control. Felt like I was being interrogated.
Your dinner, I wonder, is it something that can be made with just hot water?
Hey now, stop it with the insults! I can't believe you belittle my mom's extravagant dinner like that. Tickets sold out, full capacity already, it was that amazing. I tried my best to put on the strong front, but I couldn't grit my teeth quite right. So instead, it looked like someone who was borderline hysterical. But Rena showed no reaction whatsoever, even to that silliness.
Keiichi-kun, did your mother really leave your dinner?
No, you see, she didn't leave me dinner. She's making it right now. It's almost time for dinner. Rena had taken that assertion of mine, that my mother was home and making dinner right now, and completely ignoring it. I could tell that the more I panicked, the colder Rena became.
Hey, Keiichi-kun.
At that moment, an uncomfortable chill crept in from the gap of the doorway.
Is your mom home, I wonder?
I couldn't keep up the charade anymore. Rena. She knew full well that my parents weren't home. But I'd gone too far to admit that now. Anyway, my parents were here, and we'd be having dinner soon, and that was the situation I concocted. So I answered. I told her she was here. She's here, of course! I could feel the humidity drying out from the surrounding air. And his eyes were becoming even more frigid, piercing me with that chill-eyed glare.
Why?
Huh? What do you mean? I tried acting casual, but that facade was torn off me the instant I looked into Rena's eyes. That look informed me that Rena's response faster than she could open her mouth.
Why have you begun lying to me, I wonder?
I'm not lying.
That's a lie, isn't it?
It's not a lie. Lies! Rena's outburst seemed a jolt surging through my body. Rena and I were still separated by the few inches that were slightly ajar, but still chained door could afford. But despite that, I was still being cornered. My house, which I considered a safe haven until now, was being more like a dark alleyway where no one could save me.
Shall I guess your dinner, Keiichi-kun? Let's see.
I knew now that Rena already knew that my parents were not here tonight, but it was still so strange that it had come to this. Even if she somehow knew that my parents weren't home, there'd be no way she'd be able to guess what I'd be eating tonight. But Rena said she'd guess. How could she guess it? How could she know it was instant
cup noodles? That's right, isn't it?
That I was going to eat. Wait, the cooking repertoire of a man couldn't do housework is probably nothing but cup noodles after all. Looking at this statistically, that was the most probable answer. That didn't mean she was guessing. I don't think you'll be full with just noodles.
I think having rice and stuff will definitely hit the spot.
Calm down, Keiichi Marabara. This is just coincidence. Rena is just reading certain tales of mine. So the fact that she was inferring that I was thinking alarmed me. But it wasn't as if she was actually reading my mind. If I was being read, she was a demon. No, not a demon. Things like that, they couldn't possibly exist.
Do you like them?
What do you mean noodles?
No.
Rena indicated the point of my answer was dressing was wrong. Her rebuttal was so short I momentarily didn't understand the words Rena had spoken. Sorry, Rena, what did you just say just now? Huh?
About what?
Just now, you asked me if there was something I liked, didn't you? It wasn't long before I regretted how carelessly I pushed forward with that question. Such a simple answer, that's why I wasn't able to comprehend it.
Pork bone and ginger flavor.
I wondered how I appeared in the moments my mind went completely blank until the moment I was able to recover. So my field of vision began to start slowly swirling in a counterclockwise direction. Why do you know that? I couldn't even deny it. That's the type of frenzied state I was in. How could Rena know even this? Not even caring as I mashed my head against the door, I fixated my gaze on Rena, but she didn't even flinch when she saw me do that. I certainly did buy them. I bought a bunch at once. I bought a whole case. How could you know that?
Why, I wonder. Quite strange, isn't it? Isn't it? How could you dodge the question at a time like this?
The chain and the door suddenly were no longer protecting me. How do you know? Why do you know? Answer me!
You bought them at 7th Mart, didn't you?
Shiver ran up my spine. I tried covering it with an angry facade. Like I said, why do you know that?
I was behind you, following you the whole time.
What are you saying? I couldn't understand why she was saying she had been following me all this time.
That's because Rena was right behind Keiichi-kun's back the whole time.
Like that night? That night I was absorbed in my phone conversation with Osi-san. I didn't even sense her being there, standing behind the door, behind me, standing there just like that.
And Keiichi was picking up the noodles, was watching the entire time. You picked up so many different flavors, didn't you? Then your mom got angry. If you were to pick up the expensive ones, then you would just pick up one type, she said. Then Keiichi-kun picked up that big box of pork bone and ginger flavor that he loves so much, didn't he? I like it too, pork bone noodles. But I can never eat a whole bowl, big bowl by myself.
My brain was paralyzed, dulling my senses. Might have been a defense mechanism to diminish the fear I was feeling to non-traumatizing levels. With the fear being diminished, the fog eloping my mind was cleared away. Then I could understand what Rena was saying and started meanings behind her words. Even so, my fear hadn't subsided completely. It was like I was standing at the edge of a cliff, eyes closed, so I didn't have to look down. It didn't actually solve any of the basic problems, so I took a step backwards. As I withdrew, Rena advanced.
So, Keiichi-kun, can you open this? We can eat dinner together. I'm sure it's going to be delicious, so okay?
Rena's pale, slender fingers squirmed through the crack in the door, one at a time, as if they had a mind of their own, rattling the chain. If she had unlatched the chain from the door, a feeling of terror would have just exploded within me. But Rena didn't do that. She was simply imploring me to remove the chain. She was doing her hardest to light the fuse to the powder keg in my heart, trying again and again. Clatter, clatter. But it doesn't light. It doesn't light! Open up.
Keiichi-kun?
Please go away. I beg you, please go away.
How can you say something so mean, I wonder?
Please go away! Go away! Go away! The powder keg inside me finally went off. No smoldering, it just exploded. I tackled the door. The force through the door had knocked Rena momentarily off balance. I couldn't hesitate here. I grabbed on the doorknob with both hands, planted my feet firmly, and pulled with all my might. But that slamming sound I so desired didn't happen. I could feel a tiny disturbing bit of resistance keeping the door from closing, and the source of that was Rena's fingers. Each one of those fingers wriggling, squirming around like tendrils of a carnivorous plant through the crack in the doorway. It hurts! It hurts, Keiichi-kun! It hurts! Ah! It wasn't a harsh shriek, but more of a yelp that she was trying to keep back. Go away, go away, go away! I kept on pulling on the door with all my might. I didn't even realize that if I didn't loosen my pull on the door, at least momentarily, Rena wouldn't be able to pull out her fingers, and that was why the door wasn't closing. It really hurts, Keiichi-kun! I'm sorry if I was messing around too much. I didn't care one bit for her apology. No matter how much she apologized, it didn't change any of what was done up until now. It didn't change anything. It hurts. It hurts. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go away. Go away. Go away! Rena couldn't leave even if she wanted because I had trapped her fingers. Rena's white fingers became deep red and were no longer even squirming. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go away. Go away. Go away! I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Rena's apologies were occasionally twisted with pain. Like a broken record, she was intent on repeating it over and over. Go away, go away, go away. Stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it! I pulled on the door even harder. Finally, Rena's fingers were somehow able to slip out with their imprisonment in the doorway. The moment that happened, the door closed soundly, and I could hear the thud of Rena falling on her butt on the other side. I locked the door immediately. It made a loud clunk, voicing my rejection to Rena. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Keiichi-kun, I'm sorry. Open up, Keiichi-kun. Rena leaned against the door, apologizing profusely and nothing else. After confirming I had sufficiently sealed off from her, I trudged away from the entryway. On the other side, I could still hear Rena echoing her apology. I'm sorry, those pitiful words that were forever seeking my forgiveness. I didn't feel bad about this at all, but that wasn't out of any sort of malice. I just felt a sort of hazy sense of relief that I was able to escape from Rena. Before, Mion had threatened me at this doorway, saying that there was nothing she didn't know. And just now, at the same place, Rena told me the same thing. My feeble attempts to disguise the fact that my parents were at home had served no purpose from the start. I should have just pretended to be out, not even opened the door. My meager plans hadn't helped at all, and Hinamizawa, it was impossible to outwit them. Even though I was on the other side of the door, I went to get as far away from Rena as possible. 1 step, 2 step. With each one, her sniveling apologies became more distant. I just crushed a poor girl's fucking fingers! I sprinted up the stairs and dove into my room. As I expected, I was finally no longer able to hear Rena's repeating her endless apology. Diving into my bed, I was startled by the large, hard thump I felt. Something in my bed? Oh right, the phone. It was the receiver. I finally remembered. I was in the middle of a call with Oshi-san. Looking at the clock, apparently not much time had passed since I went downstairs. Could it be that my clock was running out of batteries? I had talked with Rena for so long. How did almost no time pass? But the hand on the clock was ticking forward 1 second every second as usual. As I put the still warm receiver to my ear, time which had felt frozen began moving again. Hello, Oshi-san? Sorry to keep you waiting. No, not at all. I didn't wait that long. It became apparent that the moment of time that had passed between myself and Oshi was different. Over the phone, I could hear an energetic voice from a sports program or something. They drove home how far away Oshi-san really was. Rena came just now. Did she come to play? I wasn't confident that I could coherently explain the situation to Oshi-san, but I didn't need to right now. Right now I needed to know about Rena. That's right, I was planning to ask Oshi-san more about Rena, but Rena's little visit had interrupted the conversation. What was true and what was false, I couldn't tell. The one thing I knew was that the single grim reality that Rena was suspicious. I might be able to figure something out if I asked Oshi-san about her. Up until now, I'd regretted it whenever I forced myself to ask about things I had better off not knowing. But looking at it that way, I could still say I'd hit rock bottom. There was no possible way that I could feel any more regret than I did right now. No, rather, I wanted to know if there was anything beyond this that I could regret more. Forget about tomorrow. It wasn't out of the realm of possibility of something to happen tonight. I wanted to know everything that I could. I was absolutely not going to die like this. Not without knowing anything. I definitely won't. Regarding Rayan and Ryugu, sir, I did a bit of digging. Yeah, well, it wasn't much. I understood that Oshi-san was talking in circles. A bit meant I dig so deep it was so hard to discuss with you since she's your friend. I want to know everything from your research. I don't think you'll be very interested in what I have to say, though. Oshi-san. I spoke as calmly as possible to Oshi-san, who was continuing to avoid the issue. And then I said it. I think Rena Ryugu is suspicious. Even if the past incidents were from Oroshiro-sama's curse, Rena Ryugu is involved. Do you have some kind of proof that makes you believe Rena Ryugu is suspicious? The manner in which Oshi-san spoke became very firm. Do you have some sort of proof? It was him talking as a detective. I only have circumstantial evidence. You see, I could tell even over the phone how disappointed Oshi-san was. Pulling on the fishing line that he felt a bite, only to reel in the bait. Disappointed, but ready to cast the line once more, is how it seemed. Oshi-san, you can't do anything without physical proof, can you? What I meant was you can't come and save me without proof. I struck that barb in there. So Oshi-san loved roundabout ways of saying things. He understood me just fine. It's fine, Marabara-san. I'll protect you. That was not the least bit reassuring. Oshi-san was just using me to continue his investigation. I was just going to get killed, and my corpse would be an important piece of evidence, and that's all I was to him. Whether I'm alive or dead, or maybe of no concern to your investigation, it's all over for me when I die. Oshi-san went silent on the other end of the line. That may have been too blunt, but I didn't care. All I needed to relay to Oshi-san was that I was currently in a very dangerous position, so please tell me. Tell me about Rena. Satoshi transferred out. Not too far in the future. I'll probably also do what Renuga called transfer as well. But you won't be able to find my corpse. You haven't even been able to find Satoshi's bodies yet. Alright, Marabara-san, please calm down. Sorry suppressing my agitation, even without Oshi-san having to tell me. It wouldn't solve anything if I continued to scream about my mistrust in the police. It seemed that I could only depend on myself, and the bat Satoshi left me to protect myself. Then at least I wanted to know what happened between Ren and transferring schools. You're aware that this won't be very interesting, right? Oshi-san, realizing my resolve couldn't be swayed, finally caved. Right now, Shimi, there's nothing that I'll find uninteresting, please. There are a few things I need you to agree to, okay? Please keep this confidential. Also, part of this may be speculation. Not all of it may be true. Are you still interested? It might not be true. I don't understand what you mean. There isn't one main investigation for the mysterious chain of deaths in Hinamizawa. Each one is treated as its own individual case. Thus, Rena Ryugu has never been linked to any of the investigations. Basically, you see, this isn't an investigation of Rena done by the police, and is a personal inquiry, is what you're telling me. This will make things a lot quicker since you understand. All of it is from either phone calls or meetings and interviews, so they aren't collaborated. I'm asking you to take this all with a grain of salt, is what I mean. Do we have an agreement? All of it is just from what you've heard. Yes, my apologies. It's all my personal investigation, you see. That thing. Before you said you saw Rena's chart, didn't you? I'm sure I heard you say that. Oshi-san paused for a moment on the other end of the line. I told you that, too? Please pretend you didn't hear anything about that. I didn't care about Oshi-san having certain obligations and responsibilities. I also didn't care if there was no proof. Even if it was just rumors, there's no smoke without fire, after all. Please tell me, Oshi-san. Understood. Oshi-san finally opened those tight lips of his. It seemed that Rena lived in Hinamizawa a long time ago. She had moved to Irabaki Prefecture after she finished elementary school. Then, following that, right after transferring, the unfortunate incident with the breaking of the school windows happened. Then Rena confined the doctor. It was Oroshiro-sama. That was all that he knew. There isn't much difference between what I know and what you know, Mariwara-san. Then what part did you investigate further? I didn't need to ask. It was the incident that happened just after she transferred. The incident Rena was responsible for, and what she divulged to the doctors afterwards, correct? Yes. After you learned about that, you started suspecting Rena and the others, didn't you? Yes, I did suspect them. So they're the ones after all. No, that's not what I meant by suspect them. Oshi-san was the type of person to say things with confidence, but these particular words were less than reassuring. Then who did you suspect? That it was Oroshiro-sama. Huh? That Oroshiro-sama's curse really exists. Yeah, right. Oshi-san's laugh was quite dry, certainly not the kind that would make you want to join in. Oshi-san resumed the conversation about the dubious circumstances behind Satoshi's disappearance, the course of events up until the start of delving into Rena's past. Just then, there was thunder in the distance, and a heavy rain started pouring down. It came without warning, rain so heavy it felt like it could beat you down. I had left the window open in my room a crack to let the heat out. The violet wind danced into my room, making the curtains flap wildly. What is it? Nothing. It just suddenly started raining heavily. Sorry, please continue. I got up, was still on the phone, and closed the window. I said at the beginning it was an incident, but neither the school nor the victims filed charges. The police were never involved. So you see, those involved were very reluctant to talk. Regardless of there being a victim who had one eye beaten so badly that it was prone to damage, it could have been the school or possibly some individual who had made arrangements to keep this from going public. Also, the psychologist was very strict about the professional ethics. Hello? Mariwara-san? Can you hear me? There was a figure of a person standing by the light near the mailbox this whole time. Even in this torrential rain, they didn't have an umbrella. They were unquestionably drenched from head to toe. In this shower, which more resembled a waterfall, droplets of water dripped down from her hair. Just standing there, both arms dangling at her side. In one hand, there was a stack of boxes wrapped in cloth. Her eyes focused on my room, focused on me as I was about to close the window. Her mouth was methodically repeating a chewing motion. It was as if she heard something hard to chew in her mouth, with her cheeks puffed out. What could she be eating over there? How could it be that this time I was more enthralled by Rena instead of the shocking developments being brought to light by Oshi-san? If it hadn't started raining, I wouldn't have gone to the window. I wouldn't have noticed Rena, nor would I have noticed that. Rena's mouth was moving in the same pattern. She wasn't eating something, she was repeating something. What was it? Was she repeating to me? What was she saying? And why was I right up against the window, fixated on her? Hello? Mariwara-san? Can you hear me? Hello? I'm sorry. Huh? Mariwara-san? I'm sorry. 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 Hello? Mariwara-san? Well, what's the matter? Even in this torrential downpour, Rena was still apologizing. The other self inside me drew the curtain hastily with my right hand, blocking my view of the outside. But even doing that, Rena's relentless apology still reached my ears. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But I forgive you for this. Will you forgive me for that? Please stop. Please stop. Please stop. Please stop. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. 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 I'm sorry. Sorry. Damn it. Why did I have to forgive her? I'm the one who wants to be forgiven. What part of me can't you forgive? I won't be killed. If you won't forgive me, then I won't forgive you either. Won't forgive. 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 I won't forgive. Mariwara-san? If you can hear me, then please respond. Hello? Oh god, it's getting late, but I want to finish this. I'm so close to the end. Oh no! Oh crap. Alright. Never mind, I didn't realize that... Alright, there'll be one more stream of this. I didn't realize it was going to take this long. So, I'll watch the new tips. Actually, I'll save the new tips for next time. And then, tomorrow night, I should be finishing up this game. So, you guys all have a good night. May the torrential downpour send you into a deep slumber.